Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is officially 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time. And my friends, you are watching the Rantcast. Let me get everything set up real quick. And I will be online here momentarily. Be having some more technical issues. I just love when my camera doesn't want to respond. Anyway, while I'm getting everything set up, I hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome in. Go ahead and bring Kurgan on while I'm getting set up. And we're both on. To answer your question, Craven, one is me, the other is Kurgan when we were doing our live Rantcast stuff. Yeah, so I actually made that intro.
Noise cancellation for the win.
Yeah, this is going to be one heck of a cast if I can get my camera set up. All right, let's go ahead and...
Blank screen quest.
Oh, hold on. Let's see.
It's like, did they say quest or cast? Both. Cast quest.
Well, there I am, but I'm upside down. Why am I upside down?
Ah, riddle me this, Batman.
You're upside down, Batman. It's really funny because it's pretty good. It does okay. Like everything starts off.
All right, the first hour is like this, and then the second hour it'll be sideways. Then the third hour, if you're still alive, it'll be straight up and down. Jump the pit, you can do it.
Boom.
Thanks, Jacer.
Back
Bohemius is here. Gravendell game. Heavy cast.
I think I fixed it. Just gonna
Yep.
stretch this out. Boom.
Oh, dang. Now you're stretched the other way.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Perfect.
stretched out. Super crazy.
JoeKozier's here.
Son of a monkey.
Yeah. We unfortunately we couldn't do the on-site thing. Do the
I am ill.
Spookcast. Yeah.
But we can probably make it up either next week or a week after.
Yeah.
If we are
Halloween all year long.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm doing Boo Fest even past October probably. So
Nice. Yeah, I've been so busy I haven't been able to do like special stuff, special shows. I wanted to though. I mean, doing the game book readings, digging those out again.
Oh, those were fun. I wanted to do those with you again.
Yeah.
We got to save one just for that. Yeah, for some reason I
I
logged in onto OBS through our account and everything's just fucked. I think I got most of it fixed, but it didn't do that last time. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I'm live. I'm good to go. Kurgan, once again, if you're new or if this is your first time here, he remains anonymous. So,
faithfully anonymous.
Just a voice in your
head.
So, yep.
Yeah, you go back and you watch the show again, and it's like, there's only one guy talking.
Always, all the time. Anyway, welcome to the TheRantCastPodcast. It's the podcast where we just sit and talk about our feelings. How are you feeling right now? Do you feel angry? Because you should be, because I'm angry and I'm ready to start yelling at you. Anyway, we've got great topics tonight. We're going to be starting with the HeroQuest Power Hour, as well as some things to tweak your HeroQuest experience while you're waiting for the next expansion. Next topic that we've got here is we're going to be looking at monopolies within certain companies. You know, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, as well as Star Wars and Star Trek releases. And then, if we've got extra time, we'll shoot some topics towards the community, and then we'll go ahead and end our podcast there. So, without further ado, Kurgan, go ahead. If you got any images, you can go ahead and send those to me, and we'll put them on screen.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, let me just... So, for the HeroQuest Power Hour, yeah, I was going to say, gee, there's no news. Nothing's happening. And it's still true, unfortunately. We got our big, news drop Gen Con, and since then we've been kind of crawling around going, well, what's happening? So every so often we get these little trickles of information, and still nothing that the company is willing to acknowledge except, oh, well, just wait, we'll give you the official stuff when it happens. So, okay, that's not it. So we get these different websites, these different, okay, so far both of these are both from the UK, which is appropriate because we're talking about against the Ogre Horde coming up this year, since we had, or not this year, 2024. So if you remember back in July, we had that store leak where they basically laid out the next 6 months of expansions. And I think most people pretty much were like, yeah, this is real. We wouldn't be talking about this if we didn't believe it. But a few people are like, but are we that sounds too good to be true. That doesn't sound like that's really going to happen. Like that's going to be like the next 2 years, or what if they throw stuff in between? So far, it's all come about. It's all come to pass exactly the way people have talked about it. So they said we were getting the Wandering Monk January 15th, or January 1st, and then the official date was January 15th. Okay, and Spirit Queen's Torment, people are like, well, that isn't confirmed. Well, now it's confirmed. Spiel Essen, we saw it. So that those at least 2/3 of the Mythic stuff is coming out, and next month. And yes, the caveat is that it's going to be a Hasbro Pulse exclusive for 2 months, but it's not a real exclusive in the sense that that's it. But 2024, all the other stores are going to get it. So some people were a little ticked at that, but the fact is it's a retail product. It's not limited. But then what about against the Ogre Horde? Well, we have these 2 pages, and they changed the name. They just call it Ogre Horde Quest Pack. And the latest debate people are having is, well, there's no new information here. Well, not entirely true. The new link. So the first one that came out was we had board, or no, I'm getting the order confused. But yeah, there was thirstymeeples.co.uk, and that basically just called it the Ogre Horde. So like, well, what happened to against? Did they change it, or was it just a typo? Or because the store leak said against the Ogre Horde, like nobody fed that to them. Say, hey, when's against the Ogre Horde coming out? It was just like, against the Ogre Horde 2024. That's all we know, and it's going to be a bigger box. And that coincides with the things that we were talking with Encarmine about at Gen Con, where it's like, well, if we did release it, I think we would, do this. We would focus on that larger price point, like Frozen Horror, with the extra content that people expect, maybe expand it to 10 quests. And then beyond that, it's like a lot of speculation. But then they're saying Ogre Horde with no against in it, and people are saying, well, what are they going to change the plot? It's like, no, I don't think they're going to make the ogres the good guys. But there is like a little hint in the original version that, hey, some ogres are mercenaries, so maybe they would do that. Then we get the second link more recently, and these are all like just pre-order pages. They have just placeholder images. They don't have anything really that you can do other than you could pre-order if you wanted to. I personally wouldn't do it, even if I knew that these were coming out. Like for sure, I just wait until it's time to order. But this latest one, board-game.co.uk, they actually give a description. So they talk about the Ogre Horde Quest Pack as a must-have expansion that takes your HeroQuest experience to a whole new level. And it's like, okay, sure. This just sounds like boilerplate. This just sounds like fluff. But they do say some things, which if you take it at face value, it's like, okay, well, this gives us some insight. So additional equipment and items, discover new weapons, items, and magical artifacts will aid you in your quest to defeat the Ogre Horde. Well, the original version didn't have those things. There were no new weapons, items, or magical artifacts. So that would be a confirmation, if you will, that they are adding to it. They're sprinkling in some more assets to make it more, I guess, what the kind of thing that we would expect. Because the original version just had those new spells that were on tokens. And you had your new ogres. You had a bunch of new tiles, but you only had 7 quests, and that was it. There was no extra artifacts. You didn't have artifacts, really, in the European version, except for those core ones that you got with the game system. There were just a few. I mean, the stuff like the Elixir of Life and the Wizard's Cloak, those were added in the North American version. This expansion was European only, so there's going to be new things. But then a few people were saying, well, I don't really believe this. It looks like it was AI generated. And so I said, well, what would it look like if you just threw it through an AI generator? What would you actually see? Hey, look, rocks. And it came out very similar. But then people were saying, well, but what does ChatGPT really do? ChatGPT really do? Well, it just scours their database, which was gleaned from the internet, data they'd scraped from other websites, including this one. So it really doesn't tell you that this is fake or that they just made something up. It's probably pretty accurate. It's just that they don't give you a lot of details just because they probably haven't been given that stuff yet. It's just like, here's our catalog, here's the product, here's the price point. I mean, that price point is very similar to what we were expecting. Let's see, what's the conversion rate for 39 pounds to US dollars? With the rate of exchange, it varies. So that comes to $47.31. Pretty close. I mean, $44.99 or $43.99 is about what we're expecting. But this is the most that we've gotten as far as this goes. I mean, no updates to the app, no official announcements. The Avalon Hill Discord or the official X, account really hasn't leaked anything new. I mean, we're just kind of, these sites are just giving us little bits and pieces, and we're speculating it to death. And then when it finally happens, we'll know. Now there is a convention or a show coming up, which several people were telling me about. I didn't really know what it was at first. I kind of had to research it a little bit, but it's Hasbro Pulse Premium 1027. So 1027 Hasbro Pulse Premium event. And it's like, oh, this is what people were complaining about, because you have to have a Hasbro Pulse Premium account. This is where you get to pre-order stuff like a few hours before anybody else does. And if you pay for it, I mean, some of our members, like in the HeroQuest fans community, like do pay for it. So I'm like, oh, hey, you guys need to give us the inside scoop. Let us know what you find out, because I can't watch this. Like, none of us can watch this unless we have paid our $50. It's like, okay, well, why should you have to pay for news? Because you're not getting anything. You're just getting, a chance to pre-order one of their exclusive products like a little bit early. So as far as like a HeroQuest fan goes, this probably doesn't really apply to us, because we're no longer in that realm. Like, the whole time, the fans and apparently the Avalon Hill guys have been on our side on this. Have been fighting against that Hasbro model, that HasLab, like, gotta have it FOMO. Here's a $500 lightsaber kind of thing, and you only got 2 minutes to order it, and then it's gone. Like that kind of thing. Like, their whole model. I mean, yes, they sell kids toys and they sell like family games, but then they have this whole subsection of like hardcore exclusive collector stuff. And this Hasbro 1027 seems to be, I mean, because it's on October 27th, tomorrow, it seems to be focused on that. So there may not be anything HeroQuest related there at all, because it doesn't fit. But knowing them, they might drop something there, and then we would have to wait until whoever like tells us about it. So if anybody out there who can hear my voice has Hasbro 1027 tickets or whatever, let us know what happens. And I mean, I'm sure they'll announce it for everybody else, like us, hoi polloi afterwards. But for now, we just don't have that info. But I don't know when they'll reveal this stuff. I mean, again, think back to the Frozen Horror. It was just a couple teasers, and then the rest we all just found out on our own. And people were doing fan unboxings, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, and now it's officially released." It's like, okay, yeah, Elviler. Yeah, so you can flip over to the other page if you want. I think I sent you both links.
This one?
Yeah, this is the one. Okay, scroll down. Sorry for all the ads, everybody. Yeah, a lot of sites are. It's like, you have a website that you like, and then they just they put so many ads on there that like the site slows down and it gets hard to read. Like that's what YouTube is doing now to people, trying to bypass ad blockers. And it's like, okay, get what you're trying to do, but you're just trying to annoy people into subscribing. Like that seems like a crappy way to go.
Fixed it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. So I'll just go ahead and read some of this section. So it says HeroQuest Ogre Horde Quest Pack is a must-have expansion that takes your HeroQuest experience to a whole new level. See, and it sounds very just like hype, okay, yeah, just write a book report on this book you didn't read. But it's great. It's amazing. In this dark and thrilling adventure, you and your fellow heroes will confront a menacing horde of ogres, navigating treacherous dungeons and cryptic chambers. Cryptic. To thwart their evil plans and protect the realms. People were just speculating, okay, well, this means there's going to be more puzzles. Well, I don't know. What will you do when you go from 7 to 10 quests? Like, are they going to tack on 3 extra quests? Or are they going to expand what they've got and, like, reorder everything? Like, rewrite stuff? I mean, up until now, the model has been preserve what happened in the past, stuff that people liked, get that nostalgia going, and then just, like, add value to it as you go, as opposed to just this was broken, let's like rewrite it completely. You did have some changes with Mage of the Mirror to fix things that were broken, but it was very conservative. It was very like they only made the most obvious changes. I mean, famously or infamously, Amalgamash raised a little bit of a stink about lowering the ogre body points, but that bit was towards the larger point of, okay, this is too hard.
Yeah,
Like you made it so hard it's not even fun.
I kind
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
am agreeing with Elvira here. Either they're really trying to oversell this, or it was written by an AI.
It feels very much like that. Yeah, but it's like
Are we
with
having
Avalon
stuttering
Hill.
issues? Are we still getting stuttering on audio?
Are we stuttering? Yeah, maybe mute your sound there. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. If we're getting issues. Yeah. So the whole question of like how much of this is nostalgia and leave it alone, and how much of it is like rewrite. So this text here doesn't really tell us that, and Avalon Hill has not. I mean, in the past they've always come out and said, and Carmine said this a few times. It's like, I'll let you just guys talk and speculate to your heart's content, but if you say something like really blatantly wrong, I'm gonna come in and correct it. Does he still do that? I mean, it's all focused on Avalon Hill Discord, but I mean, occasionally he does pop into our Discord and say, "Hey, here's this newest thing." So I think Avalon Bill said something to the effect of, "Well, I understand there's all these other sites out there, but take it with a grain of salt. Um, we'll confirm official stuff when it becomes official, that kind of thing." Like, I don't think these sites are lying, and I remember infamously back in the past when you had these early pre-orders for like the Frozen Horror and stuff. Like, as soon as everybody noticed it, they would drop the page, like it'd be gone, or
So
they'd change it.
to
But this
answer
is
your
not happening.
question,
So,
sorry, to
yeah.
answer your question there, Bohemius. What most people do, like I've used AI to write some stuff before just for quick like descriptions through my stream, stuff like that. What you do to make it a little more human is, yeah, you'd edit it. You would have it write your baseline, like if you're running to write a paragraph, you'd have it write the paragraph, then you would edit it, because sometimes what it does is it will do things like this. It will oversell, or it will do double. It will try to over explain stuff, and you will want to edit it or narrow it down. So you'll still have to write. You'll still have to do work. And a lot of people don't do that. So, and that's kind of what shows off a lot of this stuff.
Like I can almost imagine, like lots of filler.
Well, this
Rantcast,
is
you'll see you stream. It'll enhance your experience of rants like never before.
this is a quest pack, so it's like saying it just says there's key feat
We need
new
this
quests and
paragraph.
adventures, and menacing
No.
ogres face off against powerful and menacing ogres. Like it's You know, it feels like I'm watching an 80s TV commercial, you know? You're about to get
ogres.
You're about to get sucked into the TV.
Ogres now. There's ogres now.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
ogre now.
yeah, you're gonna
Hey,
get
ogre
sucked in.
now.
You're gonna get sucked into the little TV.
Ogre. This summer, get ready to ogre. It's like what? What
Yeah,
kind
we
of
have
cheese fest
lots
is
of
this?
ogring. But yeah, it does feel like kind of an oversold like
It really is
80s
not a
TV
podcast.
commercial.
It's a life-changing event. You know, pyrotechnics. Well, we like fire. Yeah. It's not just a podcast. Yeah. So, but if there's any truth at all sprinkled in this, I mean, okay, yeah, there's going to be extra stuff. It's not going to be just 100% what it was before. But the question is, will they change anything? And if so, what will it be? It's like that's the last thing we find out. We still don't know with those mythic books what's different in the quest books, because that's like the last thing we're going to get. They always focus on the plastic. Oh, it's a different color. Oh, the dice, you can see through them. Like, oh man, because that's what people focus on. That's like the selling point. But then this other detail stuff that matters, but it's more like, I guess, the nerdy stuff. Like that's the last thing. So it may be the case with this as well, but it would be nice to kind of get more of a sense of what this Ogre Horde is going to be like. And I really want to know like what the European players thought. Like, were they really upset about the fact that you use tokens for spells instead of cards? Like a lot of people on this side of the pond say that. Like, oh, you should get rid of those spell tokens. Like that sucks. Like just do cards. But the problem is you either need lots of cards or you're gonna have to like use pencil and paper to keep track of stuff, or I don't know, you're gonna have to have some other system to do it. And it's like, is that really an improvement or is it just changing it to something that you expect? Because Rise of the Dread Moon had a lot of stuff we didn't expect, and yet that was based on fan feedback. And what did they give us? Lots and lots of tokens and chits and tiles and things. And it's like, do you really need that stuff? No, you can just use your imagination. Go, okay, yeah, I've got 5 uses of this spell, and it can last for up to 3 turns. So I'll just check that off on my paper. But it's cool to have those little physical objects that are at your spot, and you can like move them around. You go, oh, I got one left. I can do it one more time. Or you cast a spell on the hero, so you give him some of the tokens. Like, okay, you've got to beat 3 of these now, and so okay, your turn goes by, you hand it back, and the next turn you hand it back. Like they have that mechanic, and we're starting to see it in Rise of the Dread Moon. Like you disguise your hero, so Zargon hands you a disguise token, well, virtually, and then I broke the disguise, so I got to hand it back. Or I earned a reputation token. Here you go. Oh, I want to cash it in. Let me hand you back the reputation token. So there's some of that in Ogre Horde, and a lot of people are just assuming or hoping that they'll just eliminate that completely.
Here you go.
It's like, but why would they? They may just expand it. Oh, this was the AI. Sell the HeroQuest Ogre Quest pack in bullet point.
Now, please, here, let me put this in comparison.
Fake.
And we'll have it
okay.
like
We got fake on one side and real.
Oh, I hate
presumably
this.
real.
There we go. Okay, hold on. Give me a second because it's being ridiculous for me. There we go.
Oh yeah.
I have it in like full screen.
Is that Cybersound I see?
Yep. Okay.
Shout out to Cybersound. Cybersound and Karl Casey.
Now, if you can read the two and compare them and tell me if any of it's like relatable.
Yeah, we can't get audio jungled, but the X-Files conspiracy music is going to play at this point. Windows key plus left arrow.
Oh, thanks, Ruby. I'm the worst with shortcuts. I'm a computer guy. I'm the worst with shortcuts.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're like, what's going on? Okay, yeah. So expand your HeroQuest adventure. Fantastic expansion. Yeah, see, earlier somebody ran. I'm sorry, I forgot who it was that did this, but one of our people ran it through ChatGPT, and they called it the Wrath of the Ogre Horde, and it was like, oh, it's like on. It's like ogres. Wasn't quite like this. Menacing ogres, new threats. yeah, it's kind of generic boilerplate kind of stuff. Customizable gameplay, expansive gameplay. Yeah, great for collectors. See, okay, yeah, the thing on the left there, the AI generated one, great for collectors, because I have seen that on several real HeroQuest expansions, like on different pages. I want to say like Entertainment Earth or like Big Bad Toy Store. Like they always throw that in. Great for collectors. Like, great gift for RPG fans. It's like, why is that a selling point? I mean, I guess, but
Well, and
that's
here's
for
the big
people
thing,
that
right?
don't know what this is. Yeah.
Is I'm trying to find things
Compatible with
here.
the base game. Well, it
Yeah.
requires the base game. Yeah, I mean, the AI thing is not wrong necessarily, but it doesn't really tell us anything new. And so, yeah, that's the question. Are they just doing something like that? It's like placeholder until they get real info.
Well, and here's the thing of that is I'm doing this to see if like you said, it does seem like AI, right? So I'm trying to put in like relatable stuff. So unique quests. It says new quests and adventures. So this is stuff they could probably edit, right? So if they did any
Yeah, to make
editing,
it seem a little bit more.
yeah.
Right. Well, here's a question though. If you put a question into, well, this is open AI, but yeah, if you put it in, like if you ask it the same question like 5 minutes later, is it going to give you the same thing, or is it more of like a randomized response? Or do we even know?
You can regenerate it at any point in time, and it will give you an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Well, or some, or no, you can ask it the same
Not,
question, I guess, but
it's
it has two
collectible.
different.
Not great
Yeah.
for not great for collectors, but it's collectible. Yeah. But I mean, some of this stuff, it's like it's not shocking. Like new quests, well, of course there's new quests. I mean, but then you could say, well, okay, the Path of the Wandering Monk doesn't have quests. It's just a hero. But the bigger box is like, okay, it's bigger because you're putting a quest book inside it. The quest book is going to have quests in it. So that's not a surprise. On the other hand, us super fans who know about the history of HeroQuest and know about what Against the Ogre Horde was from 1990 and all that, like we have an expectation that it's going to be at least based on this other thing, whereas new people are just like, ogres, okay, what else is new? Like, I don't know what's in this. I don't know what that means. What are ogres in HeroQuest? They're big monsters, right? So big tough monsters, so it's going to be difficult, but beyond that they don't know anything. I mean, there's this whole subplot of Morcar, or Zargon, sends one of his evil wizards to go to the ogres because they're really powerful, but they're really chaotic and like hard to organize. And this wizard is going to like organize them against the Empire, or in the New Lord, the King in the realm. You know, so now we've got ogres, and it's like, did you need to know that? No, but they give you these little bits of story lore, and once they've removed the obvious like Warhammer stuff, Warhammer influence from Games Workshop, then okay, you've got a story about ogres. But people were pointing to the page and saying, well, you've got to outsmart them. Like, wait a minute, I thought the ogres were just like basically just brute force, like lunkheads. They're not geniuses. I mean, you had the sorcerers; they were the crafty ones, and then the ogres were just like the muscle, the tanks, the uh, the football team that you got to run through to get to the goal.
So Elvira, it's
Powerful and
I'm
menacing.
not looking for it to replicate it exactly. What I'm doing is I'm looking for like it to give off similar
Yeah,
answers.
talking
And as
talking
if
AI.
you see how I put it down, look at this now, and then look how it's writing it.
Hmm. One thing people did focus on with this new page. Again, this is all subject to change. So, what does it tell us? Not a whole lot. It's saying that the ogres um, face off against powerful, menacing ogres, each with their own unique abilities and combat tactics. Wait, what? Combat tactics? I mean, first of all, there are no tactics because the monsters do whatever Zargon tells them to do. But maybe what they're trying to say is that they have different powers than they did before. I mean, they're not just guys with like lots of hit points, that they actually have different like gimmicks in a good or bad way. I mean, think about the frozen horror. Like you had the Yeti who would grab you if you did any damage. Okay, so that's his special ability, if you will. What is the Polar Warbear? Well, he can do 2 attacks, so he could attack 2 different heroes, or he could double up on 1. That was his. Ice Gremlin could steal your stuff and run away. But the Ogre Horde didn't have that. It was just like, okay, here's like a lower level ogre, and here's like a middle ogre, and then here's like the strongest ogre. And the only special ability they had that made them different from other monsters is that you couldn't bypass them. So like they're supposed to be, it's like they take up the whole corridor square, and so like other monsters can't even go by them. So they had to wait for the slow ogre to move on through. It's like, okay, but other than that, yeah, what do they do? I mean, did they eat people and get health back? Can they smash through walls like Kool-Aid Man? I mean, do they have magic? What do they do? I mean, they really focused on gimmicks with Rise of the Dread Moon. I mean, you had the specters who could pass through walls and had, you had to roll black shields to damage them unless you were using magical weapons. So that was harder. Or you got the cultists, and if you cluster them together, their magic's stronger. Or you've got the assassin where she can attack diagonally. Or you've got the Magus guards, like, oh, they're just like Chaos Warriors, except they always have magic, that they could use. It's like, oh, those are the kinds of special abilities I think of when I think of, special monsters. Otherwise, how are these different? So maybe that's an error, or maybe that's a hint of something real, that they really are going to like retool these characters to make them more interesting. I mean, maybe it won't just be the 4 types of ogres. Maybe there'll be more.
I mean, yeah,
Who
it's
knows?
probably just placeholder text.
Placeholder.
And
Don't get your hopes up.
for me, I'm just messing around. I'm not looking for anything wrong with the description. Like I said, Kurgan mentioned it just might be something they put in there using like GPT. And I've used ChatGPT once or twice. I was just curious, but it's really hard. At the end of the day, it's really hard to decipher. It's just one of those things. How I was told to take a look at the 2 differences, especially with like, because certain college graduates were using them to write their papers.
Yeah,
as you have to write it down your way, and then you have to have GPT write it down, and then you have to look at the student's paper. So you have to do that twice over.
Plagiarism detector.
Yeah, and it's all manual.
A lot harder.
So, like, there's really nothing wrong with it. A lot harder. I've done it myself, especially for stuff like this. It's just, it's to me, it's fun to look at, and like, I'm not lambasting it by any means. It's just,
well, I think if you're
I think it's an oversell.
I think if you're being deceptive about it, like if this stuff is just false, like who do I blame for this? Do I blame Hasbro? Do I blame Meeple Market, or Board Games UK? So yeah, it could be just this could be just fake. Like, it's not wrong. It's just so vague and generic and machine generated that it doesn't really tell you anything. It just kind of takes up space and it gets you thinking, oh yeah, there's new things in here, and excitement and expansion, and it's good for collectors. Or no, good for collectors with the AI one. But yeah, of course there's ogres in it. We know this.
So question for you. Do we even know, because usually they didn't really release too much on it. This is pretty much what they gave you, right? There's not like there's not a lot of huge information. Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, it's
the
probably
date and the price point and the title.
It's probably just what they want to put down as placeholder information for people to do a pre-order.
Yeah. One of my friends, as the teacher, showed me a paper where the student was using GPT. This is Ruby. One of the paragraphs in the middle literally as an AI model, I'm unable to express an opinion on this particular subject, and they left it in the paper. That's great. That's like those, like you're reading the speech and you're like, wait for applause. End of speech. Like, no, stop. At least be, It's like we need an AI to read the AI generated script.
Well, no, because GPT won't so there are certain things GPT won't do, and it will tell you as an AI model it won't be able to do like depictions of like there's certain things like violence and stuff it won't be able to depict or recreate. So it will tell you as an AI model I can do this or this, and it will ask you to either retype
Did my
your sentence. But
programming impersonate a deity?
yeah, so like for that, that's really funny because if it wrote the paper and then put that in it, and the dude just
That's F
didn't even
for
look at
fool.
it,
He
yeah,
was
that's
so
foolish.
lazy. F for fool. Well, okay, to the comment, Joe, about Avalon Hill Hasbro having fun with us and seeing all the wild speculation. They do like to do that,
They
but
do.
there's a limit. There's a limit. Why would you put a fake description on a store that's selling a pre-order? They wouldn't
It
do
could be
that.
fake.
I mean,
I mean,
that's a bad business practice.
all this stuff
Like,
seems
oh
pretty
yeah,
sellable. I mean, it just
yeah,
might be an oversell.
Madden 23. It lets you play as aliens. It's
What?
like, is this April 1st? No,
Okay,
this
but
is a pre-order.
hold on.
Yeah,
Now it does everything within here seems very plausible. The only thing
very
that, like I
plausible.
said,
Yeah,
I think it just seems like an oversell. Like I said, the Ogre Horde quest pack is something where you're going to be able to fight ogres. You're going to be able to do everything in this description. If you don't get immersed, whose problem is that? According to the company, it's a you problem, right?
yeah,
So when they oversell it and they're like, feel the power, and they get all crazy with their words, and they
epic
just,
expansion.
whether it's thrown in an AI or not, this
Yeah,
here all seems pretty just legit. I'll play devil's advocate here. So,
yeah.
custom
What are
miniatures, as
the
long as the miniatures are different, they can put custom miniatures. So,
true? It's true. It's not false advertising. Well,
menacing
and
ogres.
what
Are
are
your ogres evil? They're menacing. So,
sure.
I
And
mean,
what are the odds that there's going to be no new content, like no new weapons, no new items, no magical artifacts that will not aid you in the quest? It's like, okay, well, there's probably going to be something. I mean, that doesn't even say that they're going to be new cards. It could just be written in the text, and it's like that's still true. Like, oh, you found a potion. Like, there's no card, there's no tile, but it's something new.
excuse me.
So they're probably not lying there either. But yeah, we're just kind of like, oh man. Yeah, so while we're waiting for them to actually upload like actual photos of the product, you know, it's anyone's guess. Now, there is something that I wanted to point to. When Doug Hopkins did his designer blog or developer blog for Rise of the Dread Moon, like he had that page and he was just like laying out their design philosophy for the expansion ahead of the release. And they had pictures of the Spectre and pictures of the Alchemist potions. You got a certain impression from reading it, but obviously it was preliminary, and what we actually got was different. So, like with the Spectre thing, they left out completely the whole like you've got to have magical weapons to actually have a chance of hitting them and all this stuff. That was gone. So people did their own play tests, but they were like, oh, giving feedback, and it was different than how it ended up. So it was still a work in progress. Plus, there was hints that it was going to be like, oh, it'll be for brand new players and veteran HeroQuest players alike. So we were thinking, oh, so there's going to be scalable difficulty. There wasn't. That was just a way of saying like, oh, okay, if you hadn't played the game before, you could still get into it, like in the most generic way possible. Then they were talking about the alchemy deck and saying, well, the prices may be different, we've adjusted the prices. Well, they only adjusted the price on one of those potions. Instead of the whole 24 cards or whatever it was, only one of them changed. So, I mean, technically they did change one of the prices, but we sort of got the impression, oh, it's going to be more expansive than that. So even if every single one of these bullet points is correct, it still may not be such a big thing. Like, yeah, we shouldn't build it up in our mind, probably. Yeah, I too hope that they keep the oval tokens, but that's apparently a controversial opinion. Like, if you go on Yield In, if you go on Ash Quest, if you go on the Discord, you get tons of people, long time members, active people who've been in the community for decades, who will be like, nope, the tokens are stupid. You need to get rid of those. I mean, think about the ogre body points, the variable body points, because that's the thing. Like the first ogre you meet maybe has 1 body point, the second one has 3, the third one has 4. It's just it's almost random. Um, the Milton Bradley team who did Frozen Horror and Mage of the Mirror and were going to do the Dwarf and Wizard quest packs. In their draft notes, they said the variable body points were stupid. And they said, this is stupid. Like, we're not going to use it. So that was their opinion back then. So does that mean that Avalon Hill is going to take that those decades of feedback into account and say, well, everybody thought it was stupid, so we're just going to get rid of it? Or are they going to keep it just for old time's sake? Or are they going to, I think more likely what they're going to do is they're going to weigh it all together. Like, okay, what are the goals of the game now compared to, do we have a better solution? If they don't have a better solution, why break it? Why not just keep what you already have? Like, for all we know, there'll be more tokens than there were before. Or maybe the tokens will be redesigned. Maybe they won't look the same. They won't be worded the same. But will they just scrap it entirely and just replace it with cards? Like, okay, you've got 3 spell cards. Here they are. I was saying, like, well, what if they had, like, smaller cards, or the card was a different shape, or I don't know. There could be lots of ways they did it. Like with the monk, you have these cards that are like, have a spell on each side, basically, and you tap it to the side like Magic the Gathering to use it, but then you like untap it because it gets like reactivated again. So you have the system, and then you have one other card that explains how to use those cards. So that was kind of a new way of doing it, rather than just saying, okay, here's a stack of cards and you just turn it over and you use it, and the next quest you get them all back. So they might take the token system we already have and just configure it differently. So that's a possibility. But why would they just scrap it entirely? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll bow to pressure. I mean, I don't, the side of the conversation that I see is mostly the American players today looking at it versus what were people saying for 30 years, and what were the people like in the UK and Germany and Italy and France and all these other places, what were they saying about it? What mods were they making with it? So yeah, we don't know. It could go a lot of different ways. But yeah, just from an ownership aspect, just seeing those tokens again, just with the new artwork, just there's some value to that. There's some nostalgia to that.
Right.
I mean, this is a pack I didn't own until modern times. But yeah, but that's basically HeroQuest news in a nutshell. So maybe there'll be some bombshell thing tomorrow, and then we won't really know until the weekend. Well, that's what people are saying. Like, they're saying, okay, Friday is when we get the news bombshells. Not always. So tomorrow is the 10/27, whatever they call it, Hasbro 10/27. So maybe there'll be something there. Only the people that subscribed will know about it, and then on Saturday, then the rest of us will know about it, maybe. Or maybe there won't be anything, and we'll just still be speculating, waiting for the next website to throw up a pre-order.
And you told me that you didn't have anything to talk about as far as HeroQuest goes. Look at you.
Well, yeah, but see, it's like you said. What was it, the last 2 rant casts ago? It's like we take like the stuff in the background and we sharpen it and we enhance it, and we like, you could just see like the
Package
corner
it,
of his
sell it.
mug. Yeah, and then pretty soon, you never thought about it. You should have created it. Yeah, you created a monster. So, but to finalize the point, they absolutely do mess with us. They absolutely do play mind games with us. They absolutely do love that speculation game and drop little hints and all that. But I don't think they're going to do that deliberately on one of these pre-order pages. So I think what you guys are saying, that was probably just a quick, generic, possibly AI enhanced summary, is probably accurate. It's probably safe enough. I mean, if this is like a lie, if this is a blatant lie, somebody at Hasbro is going to be talking to them, and
Your
they're
Ogre
either going
Horde
to take it
quest
down
pack
or
has
change it.
no ogres in it.
Yeah. Do you have ogres in your ogre park here? Whatever he said. Yeah. All the jokes. Hey, creation is an act of sheer will. Next time it'll be flawless. I get why people would want cards in place of the tokens. Yeah. But at the same time, I get why people would want tokens in place of cards. So, yeah. I mean, it's like how you'll play with, like, this is a really common thing. If you go online, if you just search for this, you'll find it. There are people who they absolutely despise the mechanic of putting the skull tiles underneath the monsters as you damage them, even though that was like a mechanic since 1990, like, that we've always used. It's like, oh, it's annoying to have to do that. You just take a D6 and you put it next to the monster, so it's like 6, Okay, he gets hurt. You turn it. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, you killed him. That's like what people do. But what that just means is, oh, you've got to have spare dice lying around to do that. I've done that a few times. It kind of is nice, but at the same time, it's like I'm used to putting the skull tokens down. I mean, they gave me enough that I can do that. And I mean, yeah, if it's a really crowded room and it's a really like tall miniature, it's going to be kind of annoying to try to like do that on camera. But I think that's one of those things that as a kid you like to do it because you like to stack stuff up and you like to manipulate the pieces more. It's very, tactile and hands-on. Whereas a grown-up, you're like, why do I have to do all that stuff? Why can't a computer do it for me? So maybe that's an age thing. But the nice thing about HeroQuest is you've got options. You don't have to do it one way. You can do it the way that works for you. They give you enough stuff that you can do it that way. I mean, if you don't want to write on the back of the quest, if you don't want to write on the back of the character sheet, you just tear off another sheet and start over. If you want to put little check boxes next to everything, you can. So that's about all I got to say. Anything StrangeBus you feel like I left out?
Not really. I mean, you got a good chunk of that news. I mean, I am like I said, I implemented those alternatives in case you didn't have news, and you took up a good chunk of that time slot there, big guy. We got about 14 minutes left till break, so I mean,
All right.
really, at the end of the day, I think that I think it's a good placeholder. If they, like I said, if AI was used, I don't think there's really any problem with that. I just find it. I find that, like, to be honest, in my opinion, like I said, I like I said, um, I'm not reading a lot into it more for the fact that like I'm trying to pull out a problem. It's just I find it funny
Yeah.
when because it's good for like if you're on a time crunch and you need to do something like this. Like if you need to like sell something like and you need to pull out a really big description, or if you're selling a big game and you put your whole back of your box using something like Chat GPT, like if you rely on it, it's more of what I'm going at, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and
and I don't think anything that's stated, I think it's just like it kind of oversells it a little bit, but
yeah, it's an oversell.
besides that, I mean,
Yeah, so I'm not hanging on every word, but we got to talk about something in between.
yeah.
I mean, are we going to talk about the alternatives?
Yeah. So for anybody that is, um, I mean, all you guys are pretty experienced in chat. As far as HeroQuest goes.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I've got a pretty bad cough. So, excuse me.
Cough
Uh,
canceling technology.
yeah, I had to, well, that's me muting my mic.
Yeah, yeah, I do
So
it all the
I,
time. Mute his mic.
and this is something that kind of goes hand in hand. I've always kind of brought this up with HeroQuest and any board games that are similar. Um, Mods are a great thing with video games and board games. Um,
Yeah.
they worked great with D&D for me, and I think taking them into HeroQuest is kind of a good thing once I actually get the board game down. Like I said, I've known HeroQuest for a little bit. I've played I think one or two games where I've gotten actually like furiously involved. Um,
Oh
as
yeah. Well,
Zargon.
I'll
So
remind our audience who's kind of new to this. Our very first public outing with Tabletop Simulator, that was all StrangeBus. Josh here was running the campaign. He was Zargon, first time doing it. Did a pretty bang up job, I gotta say. So yeah, he just did it. And so it's like it was weird at first because I was so used to doing it myself. I'm like, well, I know how I would do it, but
I
he's
kept
in
having
charge.
to
So
like drag your mouse away because you kept like doing stuff.
I'm
But
trying to mess
like
around. Yeah, it's like taking away
I
my
think we
control. But
we
it
still
was
have
cool.
that in the archive, don't we? Because that was in the
Yes, we do.
using the yeah. So
Yeah,
um
Frozen Horror. Yep.
yeah. So it's still in the archive if any of you guys missed it, and it was a really fun time. It's something I would like to do again eventually. I know how
Oh
much
yeah.
you hate TTS, but for
Well,
people who aren't
no,
available,
I don't hate it.
okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, so here, you may not hate it, but it's like it's your last option. It's
Yes,
your last option. So
he's right.
I say utilize that a lot of the time because for people who aren't readily available, I consider that a good experience to get people hands on who aren't around us.
Yeah.
For stuff that would like with what you're doing on your stream, um, I would say that we like the way you're utilizing HeroQuest is a very good and unique way to be doing it. And it allows people in your chat to interact. The reason like I've always suggested either using TTS or doing like a live game with people on board is because it just enhances that feature.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
because it gets people into the game, like legit into the game. They're not just but
Yeah.
I think since we started the Frozen Horror, because I've missed quite a few games, um, you've had not only a lot more people in, but you've had people in your community making things a lot more quality of life improvements.
Heck
And
yeah.
it like I said, last time I jumped in, I was like, oh, what do I do? How am I rolling these dice? Like and
Ribby.
like
Yeah. MentorBot.
yeah. The, thank God for MentorBot, man.
Yeah.
That was an awesome experience. And it was something that like I think I mentioned when we first started this, and me and Kurgan were kind of laying down the groundwork for quality of life because Kurgan's been doing this since before I jumped in, but like um when we're laying down like quality of life enhancements, I was talking to him about, well, what can we do to get chat more involved, or what can we do to get people more involved? And that's when I brought up TTS, and he was like, well, it doesn't really work well for me. And so we kind of got into like things like, well, what can we do to have chat involved, like using tokens or like um, maybe something like a bot, but I don't have experience a lot in that. I have like your basic bots, but like I know nothing that'll roll dice. So, yeah, like literally the community is helping improve the stream, and that's not only something that I try to achieve on mine, but that's something that I think Kurgan's doing a great job, and your community is doing a great job of doing. Um, because it's a really great way to play Hero Quest is literally having the board there, like having a whole bunch of people watching, and like having people jump in whenever they want, jump out. Because with TTS, if people were to jump in and jump out, it would be, um, yeah, it'd be really hectic. So I think that helps a little bit with the smoothness of gameplay.
Oh man, and Ribby hasn't slowed down at all. He's making new things as we speak. I mean, he's got the remarkable rims, which we used on screen to like show you, okay, this
Mhm.
hero's got, blue and his mercenaries got blue. He's
Didn't
making new ones, new and improved
Elviler
ones.
do
They're
stuff
bendy
as
plastic.
well?
Yeah, Elviler was one of the first ones. He was like, "Oh, I'll make you some border graphics. I'll make you a BRB screen."
Mhm.
And I was like, wow. And I felt kind of bad because I'm like, well, could you maybe change it to this? Because I was like, oh, I'm making him do work, but he was glad to do it. I was like, oh, sweet. And he made some stuff for us for the rant cast, which we use occasionally. So I mean, his stamp is pretty much on almost every video we do.
Yeah.
So there you go. And MentorBot, Ribby put that together for us. When we're rolling dice. I mean, some of the issues is we have two longtime participants. There may be others, but Glasgow Gargoyle and Jacer J are both on phones, so like they can't use TTS.
Yeah.
So there are some limitations there, but they can use MentorBot because it's just Discord. I mean, so we also have to consider our participants. I mean, the struggle with HeroQuest fans has always been there's the players, like making it right for the players has kind of been our priority. But then, yeah, getting the rest of the audience involved with the interactive stuff on Twitch, with the gold coins, and then getting the wider audience of people who are just going to be watching this later on. Like, okay, are they really going to watch the whole 3-hour stream, or are they just going to have it on in the background while they paint their minis or do the dishes? Like, that's fine, but
I
it's
mean,
probably
yeah.
most interesting for the people that are playing it live. But that's why I put it out there and say, hey, you want to play with us? Here's our schedule. I'm always constantly reminding people. I just found out that Discord has an event thing that you can put up. Say like, oh, it's starting in a few minutes.
Oh,
Because you
dude, I
should
used to
forget
do
to
that all the time. What?
copy and
How
paste the
to?
link. Like I never used it before. It was just like, oh, hey, the stream is starting in 20 minutes. Oh, technical difficulties starting in 5 minutes. You're just like copying and pasting it. And
When we did the
getting this in.
Jedi Knight event, that's what I used to post the
Yeah.
Jedi Knight event last year.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. We got to do that again. And apologies to our friends in the Jedi Knight community. They don't just play Canyon Oasis; they also play Battleground Jedi. So I stand corrected. And
Yeah,
they can beat me at both of
yeah,
them.
yeah, you're horrible.
Yeah, I am horrible.
Horrible.
When I played Jedi Knight, I probably played a lot more like saber dueling than I did other stuff.
I'm gonna shout
Over
those guys
time,
out again because
yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
for
shout
it.
those guys
Yeah.
because I did do was it a 7 hour event? We did a 7 hour event that
Yeah,
for any
I'm
like
blown away
old
by that.
school, yeah, well, but like that was
You're
showcasing
the
old
man.
school Star Wars stuff. So it was um we did pretty much a good chunk of Jedi Knight games, and I had a lot of the community kind of guide me through a lot of their multiplayer stuff. So um, they they did Canyon Oasis, and I think they did Battleground Jedi, but they also did a lot of like the modded stuff too. And then I worked
Yeah,
with
they
Unlimited Stick as
infinite.
well.
Yeah,
So and he did modded maps
yeah.
through Jedi Knight, and like he did like some really cool ones. I really wanted to bring you onto that one, but you missed it, and that was like
Oh, the wrestling
yeah,
arena.
the wrestling
I watched
arena.
I watched that later. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But it does remind me of a little bit of how it was back in the day. See, a lot of those guys, like they either started or they kept on playing like after I was out of the community, like I wasn't playing it. Because we went through different stages. Like, okay, first of all, people were learning the game, and ton of people were playing Canyon Oasis for guns and Battleground Jedi for sabers. Whereas I much preferred like Valley of the Jedi Tower. um, I at first I hated Capture the Flag. Like I refused to play it, but eventually, like I think enough people got me to try it. It's like okay, I learned how it was, and like oh okay, it can actually be fun, especially if you have people that are actually working together instead of just going off on their own. So I started to play more Capture the Flag and stuff like that towards the end. But these guys were getting into the like the permaconch Oasis, where you have infinite ammo for the concussion rifle, which I'm like, I don't know if this really works in Jedi Knight, but I mean, you can make it work, and if the people that you're playing with are into it, sure, why not? I
And
mean,
to
I
me, I
remember
think
back
that's
in the
what it
day,
was.
it was. I remember what it was back in the day is like you had your core like 6 or 7 maps, like just playing them in a rotation. That's what I would do. Some people would just play the same map for 6 hours and then they're done. But I would just play them in a rotation, and then somebody would come out with a mod and go, "Hey, let's play this mod." It's like, okay, so we just drop everything and play Mandalorian Wars, and so we'd play that. You go, that was pretty cool. Play that for a couple hours, and then we just go back to our rotation, and then somebody else would come in. Oh, we got to play the high dive. Okay, let's everybody play the high dive. We play that. Okay, it's fine, and then go back to it. Oh, the Shadows of the Empire mod, and play. It's kind of broken. Oh man, and then you go back. So there was an openness to try new things
There is a guy
because
who's doing that again, by the way. Speaking of that,
oh
um,
nice.
let me see.
And there's the one for Jedi Academy, switching into a new game, which I kind of feel like I didn't believe you at first. I'm like, no, there's no way that's that
That's
good.
not full Shadows of the Empire. That's like an add-on to it. So it's like it's
Yeah,
got
it was
he
pretty
like
pretty
redid
impressive
textures.
actually.
Caesar's Palace. There's I can't remember, Night Cop. He remapped the original textures and put them into Jedi Knight. So
Oh
it's
wow,
like pretty much just did
I
an
need to check.
import. Um,
I need to check that out.
yeah, I don't know if he's still working on it or if he's done with it. But he has like they've got if you go to Caesar's Palace, I'll send you a link to that Discord. But he's got like a whole thing on it, and
I
he's
get it.
up.
It's like
Yeah,
Caesar's Palace, but it's the Shadows of the Empire character. Yeah, I listen. I have a lot of nostalgia for Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith because I played those games for like 3.5 years. It was probably the most obsessed I ever got with a single video game, like in a long time. And so, like, I have a very particular way I like to play those games, and I guess those guys do too. And it's like just a little bit different. But at the same time, like, okay, after I've gotten my nostalgia fix, and there's several people I need to duel with that I haven't dueled with in decades. Once I get that out of my system, it's like, okay, now I'll be happy to try some of these other mods and kind of see like what people have created. Like there was Jedi Knight Infiltrate. Like, I kind of joked about it because the voice acting was kind of goofy. I mean, these were just like teenagers trying to record their voices while they're playing this objective-based multiplayer. But I was impressed with the work they did. It was like, wow, they put all the scripting into it, and like this would be fun to actually like get a team together and play it like the way it was meant to be played, and see it rather than you run through the map. Oh, this is kind of interesting, and then you go back to what you did before. And
Right.
then there's Jedi Academy, the meat grinder. Hop on there, and massacre some bots for a while.
Before we get on to that topic here, real quick, I'm gonna give us a 5 to 10 minute break. Let's just use the restroom and grab a drink and all that other stuff. So, stick with us here. We've got tons more topics to jump onto, and so we'll be right back. So, like I said, don't go away, guys. I'll be more on
Just more to come on the RantCast podcast.
All right, guys.
All right, see you soon.
And we're back. Give me 1 second to bring Kurgan back on here.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody.
RantCast.
All right, just before we continue here, just to let people know, the music here provided is by Cybersound Music. You can check that out here on YouTube. Not truly familiar, but here I'm going to give you some credit. The music that you provided is copyright free by Cybersound Music on YouTube. So if you want to check out some of that sweet dark techno we've been listening to, you can just go to YouTube and look up Cybersound Music. That's Cybersound Music.
Cyber, sound, music. Check it out. Good stuff.
All right,
yeah,
well,
so
you wanted to touch base once more with our
once
Hero
more,
Quest topic.
because I can never say enough about HeroQuest. It's like, listen, man, get on to our next topic. But I just want to reinforce a point that you made, which is, I mean, if you spent any time with us, if you run into somebody named Jason J22, like you ask him a question, he'll have like 10 different versions of what you could do for your game. You don't have to spend money. I know Amalgamash has been promoting like Axion Quest. You got a guy selling, decks of cards, like, generate a random dungeon with a deck of cards. It's pretty sweet. You don't have to buy anything to make your HeroQuest game like a totally new, brand new adventure.
Where is that guy,
sky's
by
the
the way?
limit.
We hadn't seen that guy in a long time.
Amalgamash?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's got his own Discord, and so he's there most of the time. And he's been doing Ash Quest. But yeah, we need to do a collab. Like, what's happened? Like, ever since he got Orc Quest, he just kind of like been sucked in. But hey, the guy's busy, I guess.
He's a
But yeah,
busy
I want to
man.
do collabs with everybody. Yeah, but we'll all start talking again when the next expansion comes out. Well, anyway, I was just gonna say, like,
He works second shift. Oof.
Oh, okay. That would explain. That would explain a lot. Thanks, Ruby. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, that makes sense actually. But yeah, so with HeroQuest, I mean, they want you to change the game, and I think what HeroQuest did for me back then in the '90s, and what it's done to me again is that when I see a game, yes, I will kind of want to know what the rules are and play it according to what the designers intended.
Or you could
But
be like
after
me
that,
and like
yeah,
completely
this
change
looks
the
too
game.
complicated. Yeah, it's once you've got that game in your possession, you are the boss. So
Wait.
if you think
Too
it's too
complicated.
complicated,
Nah, bro.
too
It's
complicated,
it's too
or not
complicated. We're gonna
fun,
make
or
it even more complicated. We're gonna turn it
not
into
complicated enough.
Star Wars
Yeah,
using my old Star Wars minis, or we'll call it Trek Quest.
yeah, yeah. Grab any miniatures you've got from anything and toss them into your game. Like,
Those barrels have no honor, Captain.
very, yeah, very creative stuff. And it's like they used to say in the old Warhammer manuals. If the people at your table are cool with it, do it. Go
Yeah.
all out.
No, and that's
They
it.
can't
That's
stop you.
just it.
Oh no,
Because
you got to buy the new expansion before you can implement the new rules. Like,
I
just
buy
do it
stuff just
now.
because I love miniatures. So yeah, that was the big thing with me and the Star Wars minis games. Like that was before I had a craft or a love for miniatures because those miniatures are awful. And they've gotten worse since they aged. I'd like to have a video and it's on my YouTube that has me showcasing those minis and they're like the
We
lightsabers
need
are
to have a
bent. the
painting party. We're gonna like
Yeah,
revamp your minis and
they're
make
they've
them
got
great again.
the paint got moldy on some of them because the paint was just bad. Some of them look good, but against the Klingon horde, yeah. See, but like I said, the new stuff, like if I were to use like the X-wing miniatures or get Imperial Assault, like I said, man, you know,
They got me. I don't own any of that X-wing stuff. I don't
oh
want
dude,
to. Like, I don't
oh
have the money.
bro,
But when I
X-wing's
saw
not
that
bad. It's pretty
they had
affordable.
a mold. Listen. They had a Moldy
It's
Crow model. I bought that. I didn't
Wait,
care.
hold up.
I
How
wanted.
much did that cost you?
I have nothing to say.
Because I'm going to tell you right now,
I
X-wing
want to say it was
minis.
like 15
Yeah,
bucks.
X-Wing minis are usually pretty affordable when they're in stock. Like the Outrider, trying to buy the Outrider is like $40, depending on which Outrider you're going to buy. Like, and that's selling them alone. Like that's how expensive some of those can get because they don't make them anymore.
Yeah,
Someone made
I
a
bought
Star
it
Wars themed
when it was.
HeroQuest conversion. Ooh,
Yeah, we need to check that out. So that's the other thing. There are tons of free fan-made community creations, and I mean, I
I
know
pulled the
what you're gonna
files.
say. Whenever I download somebody's mod, I change it. Like I always tweak it, so I always make it my own. But the fact is, you didn't have to buy anything. You didn't even have to print it. I mean, it's digital. You could download it and just use it. It's for the community. So yeah, if you're looking for ideas, you can riff on something somebody else has done. And unlike Hasbro, you don't have to pay these massive royalty checks to, Disney or Marvel or well,
And
Marvel
really,
Disney.
really, from what
If
I
you want to
saw,
make if you want to make Big Trouble in Little China HeroQuest, do it. No
yeah,
one's stopping you.
from
I mean, you're
really
not selling it.
from
Yeah.
what I saw, it's just a simple
Fast and
card
Furious
conversion.
HeroQuest.
Well, yeah, it's a card conversion, and then you're changing the board up a little bit. But yeah, what happened with the Moldy Crow? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast. Yeah, I saw the miniature. It was like the Moldy Crow. Like even though I don't plan to play the X-Wing game, I mean, unless you're inviting me over to
you
play it
should, you should.
with you.
I have to go
Yeah,
buy more miniatures, but yeah,
Rebellion.
you should.
Yeah.
They don't. They kind of make it the starter kit is kind of a little bit uneven, but because they only give
Oh,
you
you know,
like it's 2 X-wings and I think 4 TIE fighters or something like that. But that's because the TIE fighters don't have shields.
it's
But
it's probably going to be too cost prohibitive, but imagine if like you're at a thrift store or like on eBay and you find like just a lot of like Star Wars micro machines. Get
well,
that.
that's what I have. Is you got me
Just
those
say
micro
like,
machines? They're
boom.
hanging right up there. You can use
Yeah.
those, but you still need for
Yeah.
X-wing. You still need there's
You run a
counters that you
paper.
use. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you could.
There's a lot of, I mean, a lot of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. And here you start to build up costs. Okay. So if you're printing stuff, if you're painting stuff, if you're pasting stuff together, but the HeroQuest
For
model, I'm just
X-wing,
saying, write it up, use your imagination. They have faction specific starter sets now.
I thought they
Starter
just
set.
did. I thought they did like starter packs for like um for their expansions and stuff. Like, because don't they do capital ships now, or is that Imperial Assault? I can't remember. Because I have a local game store in not too
Yeah.
far away from where I live. So like you can actually they're really cool people, and you're probably not too far away from it either. I'm not gonna like I said I'm not gonna release the address, um
Yeah.
but I go in there quite a few times, and like I said, if they don't have HeroQuest stuff in stock, what they'll do is they'll order it for you.
That's nice.
They'll just straight up order it for you, and then they'll hold
Yeah.
on to it. So if like there's something that like an Imperial Salt expansion I don't have, and they have it in stock or they have it coming, they'll just hold on to it for you without a down
Yeah.
payment, and then you just come in,
Well,
you pay for it,
check
or
wherever you find yourself in the country, take a look at your local listings and ask your fellow fans because there's a lot of like chains of like thrift stores and like
Armada. Yeah.
someone was telling me like Fleet Farms or something like, oh yeah, they had this thing, and it's like, what, really? It's like, dang it. So yeah, you can get, there's like dollar store stuff you can find. Sometimes you can find deals. Um, but yeah, there's a playing the game according to the official rules. Then there's like the fan rules that are out on the internet, and then there's you making up your own stuff. Like you go to places like Board Game Geek, Yield In. I mean, every community has their own like hangout where you can get ideas if you want to do stuff,
So
and yeah, without spending extra money if you don't want to.
yeah, and like I said, it's an investment. A lot of them are investment, but I chose X-wing because it's a little bit more cost effective. Imperial
Yeah.
Salt, you get a lot more, but it's their expansions are like
Or
expensive, and I think if you
there's
to
14 expansions. It's like
yeah
$500, I think, if you bought them all.
to yeah to well to buy from what I saw at the game store to buy a play well because you can play with one, but like if you get something
No,
that
I mean if you
makes
wanted
a
to own
game,
all of them.
oh, it's more than
Oh,
five hundred
like the
bucks
minimum,
last time I checked.
minimum. Well, I was looking at Board Game Geek. They had some pretty good prices, I thought. But I mean, sometimes you'll look at that and like, oh, I only ship to Sweden. Sorry. Like,
yeah.
Darn. But sometimes they'll give you like a really good deal.
But yeah, there was like one box. I
I've
think
had
that was
good
like
luck.
80 or $90, and then like another one was like a little bit more than that. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not used to it because I don't do a lot of board games. I'm like, oh god, that's like
Yeah.
it's a lot.
You wait till your friend has it and then you do it, because it's like, well, like with Warhammer. Okay, to use the big example, like if it were me, I would probably like cobble together one army, and that would be, and then I would hope that I could find people to play with. But in theory, you could buy all of them. Like you could have, okay, I've got, my chaos guys over here, I've got my undead over here, I've got my whatever. You have like one for every occasion. Oh, you want to play that? Then you dig out that suitcase, and then you've got, it's like, but the amount of money you'd have to invest in that, and then they decide to overhaul the game, and then the game store is like, oh, we don't carry that anymore, you got to play according to the new rules. Like, oh, son of a, like, I'd rather just get together with my friends or my family or stream it and just be like, here's what we got. you know
Yeah.
Maybe you can invest in one of these games. It's kind of like when we were kids, at least when I was a kid, like you'd buy one game console, you play the heck out of that, and when the next one came out, you would sell that one and get the next one. Like you wouldn't have as many kids who would have like every single one. Like, oh, they'd have Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. They have PlayStation and N64,
Oh, I
and
knew
they
a
would
kid like
maintain
that.
both collections. Yeah, I mean that was like really cool if you
That
could
was
do
the
that. So you
kid.
just
That was the kid
like,
that you were friends with just to go to their
yeah,
house.
like, oh man, invite me over so I can play all your play with your toys. Yeah, but yeah, it's like you could focus on one at a time. Just like if you had an MMO that you played. Like I never got into that, but it's like
Ooh,
you
Outer
you
Rim.
wouldn't
Outer
have
Rim's
like
good.
two or three different MMOs you'd be playing at once. It's like, no, you pick one, and then that's what you invest in, and then when you're done, you switch to another one, or you've had enough and you just quit. So anyway, that's all I've had to say about that. I like going to those game stores, but yeah, mostly it's just window shopping, because I just, yeah, it's too much. It's like they have everything, and it's like, well, I'll maybe pick out one thing that I would focus on. But yeah, if you're visiting somebody and they've already got the set, they've already got it ready to go, sure, invite me over.
Okay.
So if any of you are neighbors with Amalgamash, he's got Orc Quest. So get yourself invited over. Maybe his mom will be making stovetop, and he can have dinner and play some Orc Quest with him. Just saying, don't be creepy about it. Be a gentleman.
Don't be creepy about it.
Yeah, no Pinkertons. Yep.
Yeah, don't come over with that cease and desist letter.
He's like, these
Like,
Magic
hey,
the Gathering cards don't look like you actually were supposed to get these yet. It's like, tweet.
wish I had picked up X-Wing when it first came out. Debate X-Wing or Legion. Legion won out. See, there's a lot more than I ever thought. Like Armada and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot going on. And then
Oh,
Outer Rim.
Ribby.
I didn't even look up Outer Rim.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, Ribby's near Noble Knight Games. Yeah, they seem to have everything. It's like if I were close to them, I'd be like checking them out. And you got Orc Quest. Okay, we're coming over to Ribby's house. His mom's making stovetop. We're
Stovetop.
gonna
What
play
is your
Orc
thing
Quest.
with stovetop? Oh,
Oh, it was just an old like commercial. Like it's like these kids like getting really excited about like instant stuffing. Like, oh, you're having stovetop? And like Dave Chappelle does a skit about it. A
stovetop.
stand up about it. Yeah. It's just stuffing. It's like, who cares? Like a
Yeah,
stovetop. Oh
can't
man.
wait to have some stovetop. With
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
mom's breaking out the pizza rolls.
Oh man, those pizza roll. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So OrcQuest, yeah, I the more I learn about it, the more it's like, okay, this is not just a HeroQuest mod. This is like a completely different game, even though it's sort of got a similar theme. So I would have to do a lot of learning to learn that game. But if somebody has the game and we can somehow like figure out a way to stream it, that would be super cool. Yeah, a lot of our members have gotten their hands on OrcQuest.
yeah, Ribby, when you gonna invite us?
Yeah.
Tell your mom to make the stovetop.
Yep. We'll be over. Have our sleeping bags. Crash on the living room floor.
Hey, I'm going to
Sleepover.
Madison not too far from now. I think it's on the 3rd of November.
All right.
Gonna go down to good old
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you make some new friends along the way. You know, Avalon Bill's coming through town. Like, hey, I know I ripped you a new one on the Discord, but you want to hang out?
You want to hang out?
Yeah.
Make some
I promise
stovetop?
that was all just you know. I had to say that for the cameras. You understand? I'm not really
Save
like
face. Save some.
that. Jiffy Pop. Oh yeah. Yep. Get that stovetop popcorn going. Yeah, I used to the whole idea of like you meet somebody on the internet and you meet up with them. It's like okay, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. But you meet some normal people too.
Sounds like a catfish
So
situation.
yeah, yeah. It's like make sure you meet in a public place. It's like okay, got the briefcase full of money. Are you you know crazy man 2783? Yes, I am. Sucker. Like no, don't do it.
Double D's nuts. Okay. So to meet
Got
me at
him.
the mall. Got him.
Yeah. Well, when I got my latest classic Hero Quest, not the one I got from Board Game Geek, but um, the North American one, I met the guy at Walmart because I found out he was local. It's like, oh, why bother shipping it? You're right here. Like, so yeah. And I felt bad because he's like, oh yeah, my kids are home. It's homesick, and I was like, oh shoot. And I didn't know. It's like, I mean, is he telling the truth? You know, I feel bad, or is he trying to scam me? Like, I mean, it ended up being fine, but it was just like, oh okay, yeah, we can. Just meet up, thanks. Good deal. I mean, he gave me a good deal. So the one thing it was missing the instruction manual, so I printed it out because I had a good quality PDF.
And
But
that's how you do
it
it.
was cool. That's how you do it. You make it happen.
All right.
Next topic, and that's all the time we have on the Redcast. No, I'm kidding.
See you next time. Here, hold on. Let me get a tab open. We've got a couple other topics before we move on, and because we kind of already dived a little bit into Star Wars, but we'll be coming back to Star Wars and Star Trek here.
Oh, we
Um,
always come back to Star Wars and Star
let
Trek.
me see. Here we go.
Redcast topic cast.
So let me find a suitable source between Polygon or The Verge. Oh my gosh! Wow, what a great source these two are.
Zombie side.
Um,
Yeah. You
just as a
take
reference
what you
point.
can these days. Yeah.
All
Just
right.
because we throw up a source doesn't mean we endorse everything they believe, but no, we totally do. No, it's just yeah, we got to get
All right.
references, we got to get sources,
Here we go.
samples.
So it is with great hesitation that I
Ooh,
have to say that Microsoft has closed their deal with Activision Blizzard and they have acquired the company. Which,
I want to.
naturally you'd be like, okay, this sounds pretty good, but Microsoft's been buying left and right lately. And it kind of seems a
Yeah,
little to me it kind of seems a little sus. So,
one evil empire buys out another evil empire.
well,
I
multiple
mean,
evil
I
empires.
listen.
So,
I've enjoyed a lot of Microsoft products over the years, as much as I complain about them, and I've enjoyed a lot of Blizzard products, as much as I complain about them. So I don't know.
yeah.
I hope it'll do some good. I hope it isn't just even worse. Or is it, new boss, same as the old boss?
Do we ever leave Star Wars? We never really leave HeroQuest. I mean, I don't know if you guys do. I never do. It's kind of like a hell that I'm kind of stuck in
Yeah.
anymore. But
Well, I like the fact that there's still something good there that I can go back to as opposed to just hating it all and wanting to just move on. Like you get channels where the whole point becomes just complaining about the one thing and it's like it's entertaining to hear them like bash the thing that you no longer like. But I hope we don't come across that way. I think there is still some good. But
so
sometimes
to
that good that you find is not from the company; it's from the community.
to continue here,
Anyway,
by
yeah.
Oli Welsh, who's this is Polygon. just as a baseline here, we'll go ahead and read this. So they acquired Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. Biggest deal of its kind the gaming industry has ever seen. So they had a 20-month negotiation. Deal is closed. Bobby Kotick will stay on till the end of 2023. So after 2023, he is stepping down. That does not mean he is quitting. He's probably going to be. He'll probably come back eventually. Whether or not he'll be on Activision Blizzard remains to be seen. But I don't think that guy's out of the game forever.
He's never gone. That's the whole point. What about Bob?
Never gone. Instead of one evil who hates having devil horns drawn on him, you'll get another man who's twice as evil and loves devil horns drawn on him. That's what we're gonna get.
Like, here, let me make those devil horns a little bigger.
Yep.
It's like, dang.
The CMA's official approval is great news for our future with Microsoft. We look forward to becoming part of the Xbox team. Microsoft President Brad Smith said, "We're grateful for the CMA's thorough review and decision today. Now across the final regulatory hurdle to close the acquisition, which we'll believe will benefit players in the gaming industry worldwide." So, like I said, it's just one of those things that's kind of scary.
I couldn't resist saying, like, this is another AI generated thing. Menacing CEOs, collectible, great for collectors. They all kind of sound the same, but they're dealing with some serious money here. So,
well, yeah, but also once again, this is something I forgot. So for the big IP Call of Duty and stuff, Sony signed again for a 10-year agreement to have Call of Duty on their platform. So it doesn't make it Xbox exclusive, which I'm not super interested in that. But you gotta know that it does sell. It's a sellable game. It's a sellable title. It's pretty popular with younger kids and the adult generation that just plays that game over and over again. So
like, that's the cliche. It's like Call of Duty and Madden for people who love games that don't know games, that are not gamers, but they play games, and it makes a lot of money.
And right now, the reason that Microsoft's kind of under the light and there's all this like regulation is because it's not because they're buying left and right. It's because they were there were leaks between Microsoft about buying out Nintendo. They were looking at trying to negotiate with their Nintendo CEO, which was never going to happen. But they were like going to whittle them down for 10 years until they were going to grab them. There were other smaller, bigger companies they're trying to buy. It's kind of one of those things where we don't allow monopolies, but we kind of ignore them when they kind of twist the law around. It's kind of like one of those things where like we can make a company so big that it's almost uncompetable to where like they say, "Oh yeah, we'll support smaller companies because they're under our umbrella." And once you're under our umbrella, you can't compete with them anymore. They're supporting you. That's not competition. They're paying to keep you up. So
it's like a fake. They're just staying just barely within the letter of the law, and it's very shady. But what's the effect? I know that, like, I've over the years had lots of people saying, well, do you want like a good quality like chain, or do you want the mom and pop stores who maybe crap? And it's like,
most of the time mom and pop stores are good, they're just expensive.
Yeah, if having the monopoly benefited everybody, that would be one thing. But most of the time it means the quality goes down
and the prices go up.
They don't have the competition, the prices go up. Yeah, because who's going to stop them? So it usually ends up being a bad thing.
Supply and demand, dude. So it's because like they have the thing you need, so they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the whole like Twitter thing. You're like, oh man, I hate the way Twitter does things. Well, maybe this, some rich guy will just like buy it and like change it. But now you're at the whim of whoever that is. So
Elon Musk.
It could be good. It could be bad. Yeah.
X, nobody has to be on it. That's the difference here. Is nobody has to be on X. X is just a social media platform. You can switch over to TikTok. You can go back to Facebook. You can do whatever the hell you want. Nobody's going to. But like, there are people who can choose not to subscribe to that stupid platform.
And like, people are addicted to it. It's big for advertising.
And the only reason that I stay on that platform is I stay on it for free. The minute that it becomes a full paid platform is the minute I get off of it. There are other platforms you can go to. This, however, is one thing where gaming is a thing for multiple people of different cultures, and when it gets bought out and there's one company
every game you could buy is owned by one company.
Well, yeah, well, a good chunk of one company, and you have when you had 3 media empires and now you're down to 2, or you're going to be down to 1. It is going to, like Elida said, it's going to hurt consumers, because if you wanted to play Call of Duty, or if you're down to playing 2 games, and you don't like any other games, or you're kind of like one of those person who's just not into it, they will charge whatever they want for what you need. It's like man, it's like drugs, man. You don't want to. You don't have to do drugs, but you want them. And like, what is an addict going to do? They're going to go to the nearest source, and they're going to get charged a fuck ton of money for it. With something like this, and like I'm not comparing it to that. It's a really bad analogy, but like I'm not. It's
delist it from Steam if they want to.
It's just like one of those things where like it's not necessary. It's not food on the table. But it's one of those things where, like, unlike social media, where I'm not constantly looking at my phone. You don't have to do that. If it's something that's on your downtime, that takes up, like I said, if you're playing a video game, or you're playing a board game, or you're doing something that requires something of your time, then they have it. They'll charge you whatever they want for it, and that's the bad part of the monopoly. But like you said, look at Disney right now, man. They bought a whole bunch of major properties. They didn't buy the smaller properties. They bought major properties. And now they're doing whatever they want to it. They can run them into the ground. Star Wars can get run into the ground all at once. People like us aren't the major target. It's kids. Kids and young adults.
Critics. They can buy their competition. They can buy the government, the media.
Well, because like I said, what did you think of your parents at 18 years old? You thought they were weird. Like, no young adult is going to look at us like just at face value, like on that topic, unless they truly have this.
What are you talking about, old man?
Well, and maybe some will. Like I'm not saying all, but like what I'm saying is the big thing is that's the whole reason that you invest, like a bunch of big corporate people and companies, they invest in these properties over a course of a long period of time, and it's so long that it's caught from under your nose before you know what's happening, and then they make those changes because by the time you get older, they already have a new audience base, because that audience base doesn't even know what the older audience base does. They might have learned, but they didn't experience it, and there's a difference between the two.
Oh yeah. I was talking to somebody just today, in fact, who was like, had never seen the X-Files. I'm like, what? It's like, it's like such a phenomenon in my time. But
it's a good show.
Yeah, and they were just a few years younger than me. It's like, okay, maybe they didn't watch it back then, but it's
I was
like
a year old. I was a year old when that show came out. 93. My wife was born when that show came out. So just I'm not afraid to release my age. I'm 31, so that's how old.
Like, who the hell is this Seinfeld guy?
Yeah.
What?
But yeah.
What are you talking about, old man? Yeah.
Just to kind of like give a kind of a unique check on this. Like it's going to be a long process. And what scares me is the fact that Microsoft now has all these properties, and it's going to be a long investment process for them. Now I could be wrong. It could be like what EA did. EA bought a bunch of properties and they just killed them. Like they weren't making money, so they just dropped them all. Right? So it's kind of one of those things where we kind of need to see what's going on. But Microsoft has been buying properties like this since 2017, 2018. I think Ninja Blade, I think was one, or not Ninja Blade, but it was like Ninja Theory. They're the people who made the Devil May Cry reboot and the Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice. and it was a big selling $30 indie title that like took the gaming community by storm. They were really into it because it was like a AAA game for $30. So what happened the year later? Microsoft
Great.
bought them out.
Yeah, that's so often happens.
And yeah, so it's one of those things where they picked them up and gave them an offer they couldn't refuse. But yeah, making you feel old. I remember watching them first run. Hey, I liked that show. I think I'm on season 2 right now. I've just been watching it slowly because it's one of those shows where you can kind of binge watch it, but you can't at the same time.
The
It gives me,
X-Files?
yeah, because it's on Hulu, and like I've been watching it, but like you get those like hardcore alien conspiracy vibes, and like,
Well,
especially in the
it
'90s. So
yeah, but it wasn't it was much more episodic. Like you had these bigger story arcs. Like you had I remember watching some of it. But I missed a lot, but it was like, yeah, the cigarette smoking man, so like, oh, the guy behind everything, and then there was the aliens. But then you had all these one-off episodes where they just investigate some monster of the
what was
week,
his
and
name
always
that had his name? Because he's in the first
David
season, I
Duchovny.
think twice. No, he was Mulder's like pretty much like not rival,
Deep
but it was
Throat.
like his. I think that was his name, like Deep. Yeah, because he was like
Yeah, because
he
that
was
was from
the
the
freaky
Watergate
one.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would meet the guy and like tell him stuff.
Also,
Yeah.
speaking of which, what also got me into it last year was for Spooktober, now called Boo Fest, was I played the X-Files game on PlayStation. And my aunt used to play that game on PlayStation when it first came out. And we were like fucking blown away because it was one of the first games that used like full FMV like footage, and you could interact with it and stuff. And it was really good. And if you haven't seen what it looks like, I'm gonna kind of move on here a little bit. I'm gonna do some
Let's do some Ian Malcolm
deep digging.
quotes there.
Yeah, hold on.
Stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could. And before you even knew what you had, you patented it and you packaged it and you slapped it on a plastic lunchbox and now you're selling it. You want to sell it? Well, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not, well, they could, it didn't stop to think it, they should. And the only one that agrees with me is the blood-sucking lawyer.
Wow. Okay, hold on. I think I still have I'm gonna use my stuff, my footage, because I don't want to take somebody else. I have footage of this game. I think I still do. Maybe I don't. No, I don't. My Spooktober stuff isn't on here, I don't think, anymore. I have to actually look it up. Ian, what's his name? Okay, so ENL Studio has the cinematic cut walkthrough, but there's more to this. There's like a whole thing. So give me a second. One more second.
I'm actually gonna get to go trick or treating with my niece this year. Like,
Ooh.
I'm really excited.
Okay.
Halloween.
So this isn't going to cost anybody anything copyright wise, okay? But just check this out.
Audio Jungle.
Because it does have the title. It does have the title. It does have the title like theme in it. And I can mute that, but
PlayStation.
oh god, that's loud. Okay, we're gonna okay.
Audio Jungle.
Yeah, so Long Plays does this.
Oh man.
Credit to them, but they
this
beat this game in like
that logo.
2 hours. But it came on like 3 discs, and it was amazing. So if you've never gotten a chance to play this, you can emulate this. There's a PS1 emulator, and it's available.
Yeah. Yeah, PlayStation. That was like one of the big accomplishments when they emulated that. It was like, wow, all these PlayStation games.
But yeah, it's really good, and you can get it to run at this frame rate.
Oh wow, quite impressive.
But it will look like this. I had to like upscale it a bit using there's an AI generator that I synced with the PlayStation, and it like took a lot of power. But if you don't, it looks like this.
Like those VHS games. Well, I remember Night Trap and Mad Dog McCree, like games like that.
Yeah, it's like 480p.
Yep. Oh wow, yep. The X-Files.
But it was like you were playing an episode
Yeah.
of the game, and you did not play as these two. You actually played a character who was supposed to help find them. They get captured um, by like some secret society. Yeah.
Like you're not Agent K and Agent J, you're Agent A. Oh, sorry, I just hand slipped there. Neat. No, this is my first time seeing this, so.
Yeah, and like when you get to the game, it's gonna play the title, so I'll skip it. And this is what the game looks like. The game actually plays the title, and then it plays the credits while you're playing it. Like you're in.
Nice. You're in the show. Oh man, this brings me back. It's like so many of these adventure games, like they would.
And you get to talk to Skinner. And he's like, you need to find Mulder and Scully. Here are your options, and you can like talk to him, and that's the guy you play. Sadly, here's another fact: the guy you're playing as, the actor, he died recently, not too long ago. But
rest in peace.
Yeah. Because I was actually going to look up what other stuff he did, and this was his only thing.
Oh man.
But yeah, really cool stuff. Like,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of games attempt to do this kind of thing, and if they pulled it off, I mean, great.
Yeah, because there were some tense moments.
I'm sure it helps if you're a fan of the show or you even remember the show.
It kind of this reignited my love for the show and got me to watch the show from scratch, because I saw it as a kid, and I watched this game when I was younger. When my aunt played it, we had like a big projection screen, so
cool.
Yeah, but it scared the living daylights out of me. Like when I was younger, I was like 7 when the game came out, so it was like 6 or 7. It was like 1997 or 98 when the game released.
The X-Files was kind of scary. I mean, there was a lot of gore in the show. There's a lot of like menace and.
So the game has like timed events. So like there's the time when you're in like a dark warehouse and like trying to play the game on a projection screen on 480p back in the day. You're in a dark warehouse and you need the flashlight, and you're trying to look like there's like an event where a bomb's gonna go off, or
people thought Five Nights at Freddy's invented that stuff, but no, it's been around.
Scully gets possessed at one point and like tries to kill you, and like you don't know if she's actually possessed or not. She'll like, well, like, I'm not telling you what happens, but like,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
So like, but like there'll be parts in the game where like if you don't talk to a certain person, and like you just keep going, like I said, there's an event where an ally will walk up to you and be like, "Come over here. I want to, I want to show you something." And like something will flood across her eyes, and like if you don't get that information, that's your first time playing, you'll be like, "Oh, okay," and then all of a sudden she just grabs you by the neck and gets game over.
So like a visual glitch, it's like no, jeez,
Nah, it's but yeah, it was a really cool game. So just the intro images, yeah, man. But it's like cheesy as hell now. Like it was like
it's a good kind of scare.
What was it like?
Gosh,
a lot of the text.
I was drawn to scary stuff as a kid. I wanted to be scared, but of course the problem was like then I'd be like knocking on my parents' door in the middle of the night. Oh, I'm scared.
No, I agree with you, Bohemius.
You watch that thing.
Scared the shit out of me as well. And like I said, the 90s was a big time for like alien conspiracies and like unknowns. What was that alien called? Was that the what show was that? I was watching Vinesauce and he was just talking about that too. No, the alien call. Hold on, I'm trying to remember what it was called.
It was a TV show?
Yeah, it was like he was interviewing some guy and he was like panicking and stuff, and then all of a sudden like he gets interrupted and the power goes out, and I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, it sounds intriguing. War of the Worlds.
No, it was an actual thing. It happened.
Oh, so it was like a documentary or like was it fiction?
No, it was like during like a talk show.
Oh.
I remember.
Well, see, Joe Kosher is going way back when they did the Mercury Theater Players presents the War of the Worlds radio broadcast, and that thing is like a conspiracy in and of itself, because they said, oh, people didn't know it was a show and people panicked in the streets, and then other people are like, no, that never happened. And then, so they go back and forth. And historically, did anybody really panic? I mean, some people panicked, but was it a panic, or was it just a couple people that freaked out and called in and said, is this real?
Hold on, I think I found it. Hold on.
Because if you missed the intro, you're like, oh, is this really happening? But to me, that's just like, you're flipping channels, you see Night of the Living Dead, and you're like, is this a real documentary? No, this is a movie.
It's the Area 51 former employee frantic call to the Art Bell radio show in 1997.
Art. Oh, man. Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
This one.
I remember that show. Yeah. My roommate at the time, good friend, like introduced me to it. I'm like, what the heck is it? And it's like, it sucks you in because he's entertaining. And it's like, yeah, some of the guests, they're just like completely bonkers. But he'll like give them time to talk about whatever they want.
If you guys haven't heard this, I know you probably, Kurgan, but if you guys haven't heard this, just listen.
Passed away. Yeah.
So, and like some people said it was a hoax, some people didn't. Like, and what gets you is like they lost power, right? But just take a second to decide.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week. Centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
And then just lost power right here.
Oh man, east of the Rockies. Around here.
Oh, hold on, Kurgan. You're like turned down really low. Hold on.
Oh.
Because I had to turn the mixer up really loud in order for this to come in. So, hold on a second.
Okay.
All right.
East of the Rockies, west of the Rockies, around the air. Yeah, that show. Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell, rest in peace. Yeah, like they're saying, a lot of the guests were crackpots, but we humored them. And I want to say they did have some controversies because I think didn't like the Heaven's Gate people get on there at one point. Or no, it wasn't the cult. It was
in some way,
like somebody was talking about the theory that then the cult used to like go off on their suicide thing.
I don't know.
Sorry, that got really dark, but yeah, I mean,
Well,
I wouldn't blame the show for that. They're just talking about topics that people are interested in. You know, it's like telling ghost stories.
Hey, 1 second.
Somebody
real
believes
weird
it.
out.
Like going, sort of sounding paranoid, schizophrenic.
Like crying and everything.
Yeah. And how far into the conversation was it when it went off?
Just a couple, about 15, 20 seconds, I'd say.
Oh, you guys you really missed the call then, and I've got a feeling somebody didn't want you to hear it.
Yeah. Because it was really strange. All of a sudden, I'm hearing Mark Furman, and when I
That's right. Well, the network, of course, went immediately to a backup tape while we tried to figure out what blew up here. So that's what you heard happen. And then we're now on a backup link system to be on the air at all right now. So, well, I'm telling you.
Am I on the air right now?
You're on the air right now? Well, you better
Yeah.
be, yes.
Imagine watching this late at night.
Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah,
well,
I called
should
the
say
other
listening.
night, and
radio.
I wanted to ask
Yeah,
two
it was
things.
like part reality
I wanted to say
show,
one thing,
part
and I
ghost
wanted to ask
story.
another.
Real quick.
I wanted to
All right, hold on. Let me adjust the sound back. Because it was like super like soft and nobody could hear it. And jack up the mixer. So, all right. Real quick, Kurgan, if you'd like to go ahead and give your piece real quick, I'm gonna use the restroom, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on Art Bell's face, and I will return. I'm not gonna do like a break for just this.
Sure, I'll give my thoughts on Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM.
Okay, hey everybody, before we continue, is the volume levels okay? Because it looks like I'm doing okay. Kurgan, will you give me a sound check real quick?
Sound check. RantCast.
Okay, you're coming
Audio
up okay.
Jungle.
All right, we're good. All right, I just want to make sure I got it back to normal levels. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch this over. Boom. And then we'll go ahead and you go ahead and talk away. I'll be right back.
Yeah, the late great Art Bell. So I was not like an early watcher or listener of the show, this radio show, Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, and I forget the other guy. Was it George Norrie? There was some other person that like subbed in for him, and like his son died, and then he died. But yeah, it was one of those shows where like he had critics that would say, "Oh well, you're getting like mentally unstable people on your show to like tell weird stories, and you're like reinforcing their delusions, or you're spreading misinformation," is what they would say nowadays. But back then it was kind of just like a lot of us, like I'm kind of like this too. It's like, okay, I as a kid I liked reading about the Loch Ness monster or Bigfoot or UFOs or whatever. Not necessarily because I believed in it, but it was like, you're hearing that speculation and wondering like, well, could this be true, or what would it take to prove it one way or the other? That George Norrie. Yeah, okay, so I thought that was what it was. But yeah, the Art Bell show, it would come on late at night. So a really good friend of mine introduced me to the show. Like there's famous clips where like people would get on there and like try to like argue with him, or he would just like expose them for just like flat out lying. Because you would get people that would just prank the show like any other radio show live program, because people would call in, and you had people claiming to have inside information about government conspiracies or aliens or paranormal stuff. But it was just kind of fun to hear that stuff. And it was like, yeah, you're on a long car trip and you're trying to stay awake and you're just listening to ghost stories. So it was entertainment. And I remember like I would go grocery shopping sometimes late at night, and you go there at the store, there aren't many people there. There's just a couple guys stocking the shelves, and they would have it over the loudspeaker instead of the music, the music playing. So you'd be hearing Art Bell like interviewing somebody. And there's some great parodies. Yes, the Phil Hendry parody. Yes, that is so true. Yeah. Brigadier General Johnson Jameson. He's going to Mars, and it was like the crap chili maker. So you crap in the little toilet thing and it turns it into chili. And it's like, I don't think that really works. That sounds disgusting, but it's like he's trying to sell the product while he's claiming to, it's like, oh, I'm going to Mars. And you hear like some noise in the background. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So definitely look up yeah, George Norrie did his best, but Art Bell had a character. He definitely had the radio voice and everything. Yeah, Phil Hendry's spoof of Art Bell. Definitely cool. So whether you're into that speculative stuff, I mean, there's other shows since that time who've tried to fill the gap, because this show, I don't think it's still going anymore, is it? Or does George Norrie still do it? I guess I haven't followed it in a few years. Like after Art Bell passed away, it was just kind of like I kind of fell out of it. But yeah, you can find those clips online, and yeah, that was a blast from the past. I hadn't thought about the show in like a long time. Listened to him for a year before I realized it was a spoof show. Never realized he did all the characters. Oh, yeah, the Phil Hendry spoof of Art Bell. Yeah, I'm just curious now. Yeah, it was like he was out in the desert. So you picture this guy out in the desert, just like doing a radio program, and it's like, is he trying to get to the truth of the matter, or just like nutty people calling him one after another? Okay, so Art Bell passed away in 2018. Coast to Coast AM was the name of the show. This is Wikipedia, so, but yeah, it was on the radio. And yeah, he was kind of a colorful guy, kind of an interesting character. But yeah, people tried to say I don't think he was as bombastic as like Alex Jones. I mean, somebody like that, where, he's like over the top, ranting and stuff. This was more of a conversational tone. Like he would have somebody on, and he would ask them questions, but most of the time he'd just kind of like he'd give people space to talk about whatever thing they did. But occasionally he would confront people, and like he had people that tried to make fun of him and try to like take him down, and he would just kind of dismantle them on the air. So there was that too. But he was very very personable in his interviews.
Okay,
Okay,
I've returned.
So George Norrie took over in 2003. Yeah.
So just as an add-in, because I love how we kind of got a little bit off topic, but it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
And
I hadn't thought about Art Bell in a long time.
The big thing here was nobody would have thought about this broadcast at all if the power never went off. Like, had that guy completed his thing, like, you would have had still kind of like your mixed thing, but it still wouldn't have been a thought.
Oh shoot! Hey, hold on one thing.
What?
So when Art Bell died, it was under suspicious circumstances.
Oh.
It was an accidental overdose of prescription drugs. So, I mean, that's terrible.
Dun dun dun.
But at the same time, he was 72. He had other health issues too. So I mean, it's not that hard to imagine. But unfortunately, a lot of people have gone that way. So that's another topic. But yeah, you could just imagine, like, of all the ways for him to die, like, that would have been, it's like kind of fitting with the themes of all the stuff that he talked about. It's like, if you wanted to believe there was a conspiracy to silence him, there you go. Just saying.
Yeah. So, and the big thing here was, the question isn't whether you're paranoid, it's whether you're paranoid enough. And if you can remember that call, it would be scary as hell. So, and like I said, that's a YouTube comment that I read. But like, the big thing is he's not wrong. It's like I said, I bet Art Bell had his I bet he had his fair share of of wackos on the show.
There are real conspiracies.
Yeah, and that's what makes them conspiracies, right?
Not everything that everybody imagines is automatically therefore true, and you should be credulous. But
that's the thing, is like, obviously, what are the chances that you had somebody like that, who is that freaked out, get cut off during just a show like that, So,
I mean, unless he was
like
in
I
on
say,
it,
could have been nothing.
Let's kill the power right when this happens, so people will freak out.
Right, but I believe, like I said, I'm not like a big like alien guy, like, but I do believe that we are not alone in the universe. Like the universe is too big, right? There's got to be
When you
something
watch
out there.
when you
Not
watch this
like
show back, you're gonna see like an alien like silhouette in the background.
it.
It's like, wait
It
a minute.
doesn't, and I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, a huge conspiracy theorist about it. I'm not like putting on the tinfoil hat. I don't immediately go to gray aliens or anything like that. Um, but the big thing here is the fact that uh, it's not entirely false to think that there might be um, a species that might be either A, more intelligent than us, or B, at least something similar. It doesn't have to be, because like we can only imagine something so far within our scope as our species goes, right? So when we create another species or we imagine something in that realm, we have to either use our imaginations or we have to think something similar like bipedal or quadrupedal. Like
Yeah, we
you
always
have to think of something like
imagine it
that
like a
within our element. And like I said, man, we have yet to see the universe and what it can provide.
yeah.
Right? We have explored part of it. We have watched it, but we haven't really fully been out there completely. And
Oh, there's
the
if you want to believe that there's aliens out there, there's plenty of room to like put them somewhere.
and like
That
I
just
said,
out of reach. And if we're like we're the little things on the microscope slide and they're the ones looking through, like yeah, how are we ever gonna know?
welcome to the Rantcast. It's now the DLC called the Conspiracy Cast or the Ghost
Conspiracy.
Cast. Next it'll be Ghost
Conspiracy,
Cast.
yeah.
You know,
I think the gray aliens though, like for a long time I was like, I wonder if that's true. Now I'm just like convinced. No,
no, and
it's
that's
nonsense.
true, Joe. And like I said, it's one of those things where um there could be they even concluded what sentient. They even concluded there was life on Mars at one point in time, right? But it's not like
Yeah.
what you think. There could be life on a planet that we haven't even noted yet, farther away from us, that is not even close to who we are, but has limited intelligence. You know, eh, and they are
They're
all
all
warned.
warned to stay away from us.
They've intermitted a transmission of Gangnam Style or something current, and they're like, nope.
As I see TikTok, it's over.
They're smarter than us. They've built huge buildings, and yet we're not even nope. We don't want any of that.
Yeah. Well, I like the jokes too. It's like, oh yeah, it's just the drunk redneck aliens crashing into Earth. It's like,
I think
stop
if we were less worried about money, Ribby, and trying to steal from each other and rob each other all the time, I think we would have a better space program, like we were trying to do. There were some things about the past I think that would have been great, like trying to explore things beyond our world. But I think what traps us here until something like an emergency or a cataclysmic event, I think what traps us here is our own greed. So, at one point, I think they were pretty much calling off the space program. So, it's kind of one of those things that the only reason I think we even had a really good space program at one point in time was we were competing with Russia. So,
yeah, it absolutely
so
was. It's like
it was trying to
who's gonna get those nuclear launch
it
platforms.
was trying to
in space
swing the bigger dick at that point, and
yeah.
I really think that, you know, whatever. What do you think about the latest news of UFO discussing? I didn't see the Alien Direct. That's what I called it. And I don't know. I kind of dismissed it because I don't know. When the public wants to discuss shit about that, I feel like it should be taken with a grain of salt.
Sorry, go ahead. You were talking.
I mean, I don't know. I can't give off a full on opinion and or like give off my terms about it because it's, you know, there's been so much speculation and talk in the last 30 to 40 years about possible life outside and cover-ups and conspiracies and the shit that went on in Roswell and all that stuff like that And the fact that we here in the U.S. have a lot of secrets, and we have buildings that are not accessible to the public at all. And that's not even just that's just in general. There's a lot of distrust. So while I think yeah. While I think that it's one of why, and I think that's stupid. I sided with our military on that because even regardless of whether they might have been harboring any of that crap,
let's storm
a military
installation.
That's a waste of resources, but like they were willing to say, "Hey, look, we'll just gun you down." So the big thing here is,
government should be held accountable. They do a lot of shady stuff.
Corporations
do it too. Yeah,
and they do it because they fear people are going to panic or something like that, and like at a point, people do panic. Like
there's going to say, "Hey, the aliens are here," and nobody cares.
Well, no. Think about it. Think about it this way, man. Crap. If we were told that there's life, like truly, there's life outside of our planet, some people might not matter, but like that's a whole nother thing, man. Because you look at this, there's other countries that have other beliefs, and some of them are pretty violent. Look at the shit going on in the Middle East right now. Like it's taking a tipping point. Now look at look at stuff just outside the U.S. Look at the shit within the U.S. Yesterday there was 2 mass shootings in Maine. And like there's a lot of crazy shit going on. Now imagine mixing into the bowl of soup that we have. Hey, there's life outside of the planet that we live, and we don't know if it's hostile or not. And like with all the shit that you've watched, with all the fiction that you read, that's paranoia. So like. I get where some people are coming from, but at the same time, like the public should be let know slowly. I'm like, instead of like held secret, especially, I don't think that it's as bad as people claim it to be because if we considered it a massive threat, the U.S. probably would have taken drastic steps during that time. But we don't have a lot of funding for any of that shit anymore. So
if I'm of the opinion that like what I want it kept secret from me. If let's say we really found out there really were aliens, what I want to know about it, yes, I would want to know. I'd want to know about it. But I think that the latest thing that they're talking about, I don't claim to know everything, and you weren't there, you didn't see the secret files, well, neither did you, but the whole like thing in Congress, I personally think that's kind of like Majestic 12, where you had just like a whole bunch of documents, very detailed, but they're like full of like mistakes, and it's just a complete psyop. It's not real, but it serves a purpose in that people can look at this like it could be a propaganda tool. It's like, oh yeah, the aliens are out there and we're working with them, so do you want to mess with us? Like maybe they'll give us some of their space lasers and we'll be all set, like it can serve a function, to thwart your enemies or whatever, or just keep people, focusing on that. But I see it more as what value is there in investigating that stuff? Like, okay, you got to release the files. It's kind of like the JFK thing. Like, okay, JFK is dead. He's not coming back. We knew lots of stuff like that happened. Is it really national security that they're hiding that stuff, now? They've released a lot of files, but there's still a few that they, hang on to. It's like, oh, national security, we can't show this to the public. But it's like in the process of looking at those files, you get a bigger picture of, okay, well, how do these government agencies operate? What is our foreign policy been like? What has happened in history? Like stuff we thought was maybe one way, but now there's this other side to it we didn't know about. So by investigating it, you learn other things. So probably this alien stuff, you're not going to find out some big like X-Files style expose that, oh yeah, the aliens are here and they're controlling everything. But you'll find out other things about, okay, what were they doing with the Star Wars program? What was Project Blue Book and all that stuff? So I think it's fascinating, but yeah, I'm not expecting it to be like Independence Day or anything like that. So that's kind of my take on it. Yeah, could there be aliens? Sure. But I don't believe the gray aliens thing. Like, I'm convinced that's not true, because the first, like, it's very plausible that you could explain, like, the first reports of the gray aliens. Like, it was a couple. It was if I'm getting this right, Betty and Barney Hill. Like, those are their real names. Like, the husbands described the aliens one way, the wife described them another way. But then when they interviewed them later, they like changed their story so they both saw the same alien. And it's like, and that's when you got like it's like, oh, okay, that seems like they, manipulated the story. I mean, maybe they believed it. Maybe they convinced themselves that it really happened, but I don't think that. And I think it's just when people have these fears or they're making up a story, they go back to the well. It's like, oh yeah, I saw a werewolf and it looked just like the werewolf the other guy saw. And so then everybody has the same story. But could there be, aliens theoretically? Sure. Why not?
Well,
and if we need a SpaceX to go find them, then sure, bring on the SpaceX.
So, moving to
but
our
don't
next
do the
topic.
Naruto run through Area 51. But Area 51, great game. I love that game.
Oh my god,
the light gun.
I should probably try
you
that
put
game.
In,
oh,
yeah,
the
you
Leica
get
game,
the two guns at the same time. You're like going through Star Labs, blowing away aliens.
Maybe I'll try to see if I can get it to emulate.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next topic here. We've got Star Wars and Star Trek media, some new stuff that I have put into account. I'm going to start with some cringeworthy stuff first. Well, what I consider is a little cringeworthy. Hey, does anybody remember Dexter Jettster? Without spoiling it, Kurgan, because I know you know who he is. Does anybody in chat know who Dexter Jettster is? If anybody in chat can tell me before I put on this article by IGN. Yes. Joe says yes. Anybody else? It depends on what your manners are and how big your pocketbook is.
Come on, Dex. A cup
Hmm.
of Java juice for you. Dang. Yeah. And people made
Kenobi.
fun of the fact that like he paused so long. How big your leans in. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Pocketbook is. Oh. All
right. So I'll come out.
There.
I'll come out with it. So guess who's getting their own short story? Infamous but equally popular diner owner from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, is getting his own short story. Dexter Jettster, chef from the somehow 1950s American diner featured in Attack of the Clones, will send her story to feature the upcoming Star Wars anthology. From a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi features 40 stories from 40 writers, celebrating the original trilogy's 40th anniversary. Congratulations.
In the tweet, the official Star Wars books Twitter account below, 37 of these stories is called The Veteran.
No, the 37th.
Dexter,
the 37th.
The 37th, excuse me, is called The Veteran and seemingly sees Dexter reflect on his encounters with Obi-Wan Kenobi and how he played a part in starting the Clone Wars.
Look. Get it right, man.
Come on.
There's not going to be 37 of the same title.
37 will do it again and again with more cowbell.
I would like to read some backstory on him. So, my thoughts on Keanu Reeves. No, my thoughts on this story here is I thought it's a little weird. Disney likes to put everything in like one big pile, especially with during the celebration stuff. They announce a whole bunch of shit, and then they like have a hard time keeping up with it, especially with the writer's strike, or was the writer's strike. I don't know if it's done now, but
oh yeah.
So with this here, it seems a little bit better because it's a book, right?
Yes, I would agree
And
with that. And this is the sort of thing that like Lucas would have
it
approved
just
back in the
makes
day.
me
You know, Tales of the
laugh.
Mos Eisley Cantina. You know,
Yeah, so it makes me laugh because it's funny because I didn't mind the character. I was
it's a goofy
confused
side
about the
character.
diner, but the everybody, like I said, this is one of those transitions because, like I said, a lot of older fans were really not only confused but made fun of this character. Now he
Totally.
is now becoming. I didn't know he was a fan favorite, and a lot of articles are stating him as a fan favorite. He had a 5 minute like thing in which, like,
Yeah,
you know,
Obi-Wan's
he
getting information.
he knew
He's just
who
a nice
Obi-Wan
guy.
was. So I didn't know he had adventures with
Boners.
him
Good
or like
ones
anything, you
too.
know. So I just imagine that Kenobi was like a regular at the restaurant, or like he knew him on Coruscant. That was it. So,
Regular cup of Java juice. Start his day.
but you know, it's good that they're going into books. This is different forms of media that are kind of nice. ChatGPT wrote the article.
See, I was just gonna say that. So
Oh God.
yeah, Bohemia. So now I'm paranoid. Every article I see, it's AI generated.
Look, guys,
you know.
it's not that hard. You can
Menacing
tell.
ogres,
No,
cryptic dungeons.
look.
Great
This
for
was.
collecting.
I don't think this was. And if it was heavily edited. It's not. It's
It's because
not.
ChatGPT is it is not.
Oh, hi,
Come on.
Mock.
Yeah, it's because ChatGPT is imitating the unoriginal styles that so many
Yeah,
people
but
use.
most
And
AI
it's
you
so
can
cliches.
like you
Yeah.
can't. It's not blatantly detectable, but like you can see a pattern somewhere. Especially if people are
You see
lazy
it when
about
it.
it.
Yeah, you see it when it's bad. When it when the
But
mask.
so here's where it
Probably
gets.
written for ChatGPT.
Here is set oversell
Got
to
him.
max level. Yes. So this is where it gets a little bit cringy, right? So,
It is very cringy.
they obviously have plenty of stories in this edition from a certain point of view, though another particular interest could explain how Kylo Ren obtained the melted Darth Vader helmet. I don't need to know this. This could be mentioned at any other point in time during the trilogy or the anthology, or during a backstory or any other time. I do not need a whole adventure explaining this. I don't, it could be it could be a graphic. It could be a graphic novel. You know what was great about the Dark Empire books is it brought a little bit of extra story into Boba Fett. Boba Fett lived. You know, had a new, was it the Slave 2? Yeah. And it was not unique. It wasn't a fire spray. It was a I used to know what the vehicle was called, but it's in X-Wing Alliance. You can fly it.
Skip Ray Blast Boat?
No, it wasn't a blast boat.
No.
Mm.
Okay, I don't know.
I'll have to pull it up in X-Wing Alliance sometime, but
yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up here.
The Sarlacc found me somewhat indigestible.
I bet you.
No, no.
I bet you it won't pull up here anymore. But let's see.
I'm.
Yes, there it is. There it is. There it is.
I agree that this is the venue to do it.
Like
imagine if this was like a Disney Plus. Oh, okay, like a Disney Plus TV show, live action. No, just put it in a novel, put it in a comic. That's the place for it.
Story about Luke going to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters too. That we need to know that. But yeah, so anyway, like
that miniseries.
We're doing that. There's also kind of just to kind of keep this moving along. There is a well, no, Dexter. I think I used to know what his species was. Like way back when I was like super into Star Wars, like way super into Star Wars.
Oh, wow, you beat me then because I didn't even.
Oh yeah.
But
it's been rewritten so many times now. It's like trying to study the Bible now, man. Like you need to have 3 versions of the same fucking chronology, and I don't need that.
Yeah,
like
5 languages.
It's gonna take a lifetime. Yeah. I don't need to do that. So like. It's one of those things where, like, if you were a hardcore fan and you had your stuff down and you knew what's what and you read the books and you enjoyed your Star Wars and that was it, you know. Now it's we've retconned half of the fucking thing and then we decided to pull stuff from the EU because we made a mistake. Oops, all canon.
Yeah, I just play the Star Wars RPG like George Lucas would. Just like, so wait
They
a minute, what
did.
planet is this?
They
Pause,
did
pause,
do.
pause. It makes it up on the fly.
Right.
Naboo.
Yeah, they
And the
did do
people
a
live
Clone
here
Wars.
called Nabooians.
They did do a Clone Wars Jedi. It was a Jedi. I think it was a Jedi Master. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hold on.
you at least one, just to show that like every alien could be a Jedi at some point, or a Sith, or
I think
whatever.
I can find his name. Hold on.
Dark Jedi.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But he was not a great one. He was he hated clones, and yeah, but
he did have a big pocketbook.
He was a
great man.
He was a same species as Dexter, but
okay.
He is a basilisk, I think is his species, on the homeworld of Ojum.
Yeah, so you guys definitely are more into Star Wars than me, because I did not know any of that stuff. You had me at Jawa Juice.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was another one of his species in the Clone Wars, Kurgan, that like abused clones and stuff. Like, not a very nice Jedi. So anyway, so moving on to other forms of Star Wars and Star Trek media. Star Trek released a new title. Let's see.
That was funny. It's like Bohemia. It's like, I did it. I made them kill each other. No, he did.
And let me make sure. Make sure I got this one correct before I go ahead and just talk new Star Trek games. So I think this is it. Let me give me 2 seconds. 2 shakes. I might have to pull it up on Steam because their trailer shows nothing about it. But anyway, it is a game kind of similar to Stellaris. If anybody's played Stellaris, which is kind of like a 4X type game, and there are Star Trek mods for Stellaris, but
that's cool.
But let's see. Star Trek Infinite.
Star Wars anymore is like Star Wars and Star Trek, or it's like a buffet. You go there and it's like you find the ones that you like, and you get more of those. You pile up your plate with those, and
so this is Star Trek Infinite. I don't know if it's going to show any actual gameplay or not. This might just be a like a garbage trailer. Hold on. Oh God, that's loud. Let's mute that, shall we?
Audio jungle.
Okay, let's remute it. Ow. Okay, sorry guys.
Tough little ship.
Yeah, so this is going to be kind of like a galactic civilizations, kind of.
Oh, it's Empire or.
No, it's not. Not even close. It's also it's 4X. It's not just like a turn-based strategy. So 4Xs are like you've got an entire galaxy map, and each part of the galaxy has its own economy. They have their own race. With this and Star Trek, since the race is already predetermined, they're going to have their own economies, their own research, their own kind of civilization. And what you do is you either expand on that civilization to dominate the map, or you're going to go ahead and work together with certain civilizations to help that until you become the most dominant, and then you'll either vessel that civilization or you'll move on. So what they did with this was they pretty much just took Stellaris, or a version, like they didn't just rip off of it, but it's very similar to
with Gowron,
to Stellaris
with the big eyeball.
Yeah,
I remember that guy.
My favorite, Gowron. And I'll kind of pull it up here. This is Stellaris.
And I forget the woman's name, but they all look familiar, like recurring characters from the show.
Excuse me.
Various shows.
So Stellaris is a lot bigger though, because it has a lot more races. And so let me see if I can but it's kind of the same thing. So as you could see in the trailer, you were scanning planets. You'll scan planets, mine them for resources. You can conquer certain planets. They have their own. You'll pick like a race, and they'll have their own like attributes. Some races are either violent or they're peaceful. Some are a mix, and they have their own like policies. So like some can't go into combat if they leave the fleet. Like it's kind of one of those things, and it's a game that takes a long time to master. Yes, but and that's their galaxy map for stuff like this. It's very big. So
see, my brother's much more into strategy games. He would appreciate something like this more than I would.
Well,
I think.
yeah, it's similar to like, so if you like the Dune game that I've been wanting to get, Spice Wars, is a 4X. It's very big, very strategic game, and this is like an even bigger version of that because this takes place over time. You've got years that get spanned over, and then like at a certain year, there's a new race that pops in that attempts to dominate the entire galaxy, kind of like the Borg. Wow. And they are very strong, and they are almost impossible to defeat your first couple playthroughs. So you have to learn and kind of strategize. It's a good game. It's a really good game. And there's a Star Trek mod for this. There's a Star Wars mod for this too.
Did you see Joe's comment? It's the map to Luke. Okay.
Do you dream of the stars?
Stellaris. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, so superficially it looks like Empire at War, but yeah, it's actually a vastly more complicated game, looks like. More focused on the strategy than just combat. But I suppose you got combat too. Star Trek Infinite. Did we lose audio?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I coughed and forgot to. Okay, so my bad. I coughed and like forgot to. So with this game, with Empire at War, if you take control of a planet in Conquest, you're just reaping money from having that planet, right? If you take control of a planet in, let's say, Stellaris, or if you ally with that planet or do something, you not only gain stuff from resources from that planet, but you are gaining the opinions, the values, everything that that planet has to offer, and you have to keep control of it, right? So it's not just fleets and combat, it's also like negotiations, tactics. You're looking into like the people that you have allies with, you have to actually talk to them, or if they get poor, they get angry, you have to like figure stuff like that out too. Like, you know, it's kind of one of those things where like it's very big, kind of complicated. You also can expand onto the planet and do stuff, and if you expand in certain areas, you can either piss people off or you can make them happy. You can make certain planets like mining planets or industry planets. You can make certain ones like civilizations. Excuse me.
Well,
but this one seems smaller. Yes.
Don't get intimidated by games like this, because like my first impression when I hear about this is like, oh man, like there's just too much stuff in this game. But that's not the point. The point is they give you all that variety so that you can pick one area of it where you can enjoy it and go through that. Like it's not like one of these games where you have to do 100% completion. You got to play the evil campaign, you got to play the good campaign, and then you got to unlock all the characters, and then you got to visit all the
I don't
areas. And
I don't have I don't have an opinion on this yet because I haven't played it. But like looking at the reviews, it's very mixed. Like some people, and it just looks like a smaller version of Stellaris.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I was looking forward to it, but like I said, I wanted to see if there's anything.
Based board games we play. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking if there's anything radically different between this one or Stellaris. So If anybody does happen to pick this up, let me know, because I'm not picking this up yet until I actually watch a playthrough on it or something. And a lot of people aren't recommending it right now.
Asking for feedback. Oh, are they waiting for a patch, or that just?
Some people are saying it's performance. Some people are saying it's not very different from Stellaris. Okay. So, it's a Paradox game too, so which is weird because they usually make really good games. So I don't know, but yeah, it's something that just came out, and with all the Star Trek like negativity, usually like with the TV and stuff.
Yeah, like we need some good games to wash that bad taste out of our mouth.
Another big thing is you guys were talking about it last time. Kind of the differences between Star Wars, Star Trek, or which one you'd prefer, and kind of gonna say something here. Was I recently got into Star Trek not too long ago. I think I mentioned this to you, Kurgan, a couple of years ago when we were first talking about this topic. Was I started watching, of course, I started watching TNG first. Then I went into Deep Space Nine, and I liked them both. I then went back and watched a little bit of the original series. I watched like a couple seasons, I think it was. I didn't watch all of them. Yeah, so I didn't watch all of them.
Longer seasons.
So it was either a season and a half or 2 seasons. But I think I got to think about the season and a half, and I kind of started checking out. They're good. It's just I think I started burning out around that time. And then I wanted to get into
the quality did dip. Yeah.
I wanted to get into watching Voyager and watching Enterprise. So I tested myself a little bit on both, and I can't give a solid opinion, but Enterprise didn't seem super bad within its first couple episodes. But
no, it wasn't. It wasn't super bad.
And I can't give an opinion on Voyager yet. So
hey, sorry. Steve RS 2000 is here. He's been breaking a lot of news lately, so shout out to him.
Oh, cool! Welcome
to the RantCast.
Then so
anyway, go ahead.
As far as I can say, for Star Trek, the 2 series I prefer, especially I liked Deep Space Nine a lot. A little bit more than I liked TNG. But I still like TNG. And then I'm always going to be that Star Wars guy till the day I die. So I'd say my preference has always been Star Wars, but it was kind of a refreshing kind of palate cleanser to watch something that's nice and different, a little bit different. So it just sucks that I'm late to the Star Trek game, because I used to be back in the day. There used to be a real big rivalry between the two, and I was on the Star Wars side for the longest time. So I got into it, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem half bad. And then you came back and you were like, well, it's too bad that this series got shit on too. So
yeah, they've both been trashed.
Yeah.
I the rivalry, I mean, Star Wars it always focused on the digestible chunks, and you watch the movie and it's full of action and then you're done. Whereas Star Trek, it's it's a TV show, so it's ongoing, and it's okay, you've got the philosophizing, but then you got the fist fights, and then you got the philosophizing, the politics, and the diplomacy, and then you got the space battles. So it's had a smaller budget, so they had to stretch it out. So yeah, it appealed to different tastes, but at the same time, I liked them both. I grew up watching the original series and TNG when it was first coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I was less Deep Space Nine. I forced myself to watch all those shows later on, and yeah, I really fell out of love with Enterprise. And Voyager, everyone had prepared me, oh, this is a terrible show, it sucks, it doesn't go anywhere. And they're pretty much right. But at first I thought it had a lot of potential, but thankfully I steeled myself for not being disappointed. And the best thing about Voyager to me was the Elite Force video games. Those were a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those. So I think they took, you know, the the crap that they were given and they turned it into fertilizer and, you know, grew some crops with it or something.
Right.
Now, what about, I gotta ask, what about Discovery or Picard?
Didn't watch Discovery because the trailers I saw for Discovery were awful, and the
Yeah.
reviews I saw for it, just didn't seem like Trek.
Yeah, I broke my one rule. I usually say 4 episodes. I'll give a show 4 episodes to get me in. I couldn't get through the third one. I gave
and
up.
usually a show or a series will keep its consistency usually like pretty well, even if it has to break some rules or like kind of divert. There was a lot of like weird vocabulary. And like I said, this could just be the TNG in me, right? Because like Deep Space Nine broke this rule too, but like usually um with Star Trek, it's supposed to be we're supposed to be a more like a better race, like we're supposed to be a better version of ourselves. And with Deep Space Nine, what alters that and makes it that more tolerable is the fact that even though we are a better version of ourselves, there's always kind of still the dark version of the human being. You know, we're always doing stuff in the background, or we're still trying to control things the way we want to control them, but we have made things better for ourselves, right? Um, with Discovery, I feel like they just kind of like touched everything up for the modern age, for our like for today, and then like also like gave everything the modern camera shot or like cinematography, which I can't blame them either for that. But
Yeah.
Things stopped feeling like classic when not only you guss him up, but you changed the entire direction that the show was in the first place. Now with
all
Picard,
that iconic stuff is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, with Picard, I don't mind old heroes because not to me, not every hero has to be like a dude, or not every hero has to be a woman either, but like or young or strong or like you know. But the big thing is like
Optimistic.
it's kind of like the Indiana Jones thing. You've got like an 80-plus-year-old dude pretty much like not able to do anything, and we're supposed to believe that this guy can, he's pretty much lucking out every time he gets into a fight. Because he's being carried, like the first couple episodes I saw season 1, like I was like, dude, I think he gets blown away a couple times from an explosion. I was like, that guy would not only have a concussion, but he'd be like, no, pretty close. Like that would like knock the wind out of him. He'd be gone. Like he'd be like that'd be it. He'd have to rely on the woman next to him to pretty much walk him out of there. And like,
but they never.
So
they had a perfect excuse. They could just say, "Listen," because didn't he like sip from the Holy Grail to make sure it was the right one?
Or like with the fact that they have technological advances,
longer,
you could
gave him a longer lifespan and more durability.
They could have done stuff with special effects, whatever. It's one of those things where I think that he came back to the role, wanted to have fun. And then I heard they brought back Riker, and Jonathan Frakes wanted to get some action in, so did Worf, and yeah, it's one of those things where I was told by a couple friends of mine that it was good, but it doesn't scream interest in me. So I watched a couple episodes and I just kind of shrugged. So
at least you watched it. I didn't give it a chance at all because I decided I've had enough of the deconstruction of the hero, the anti-hero, the rewriting of this show. It's just like just leave it alone. Like I rewatched TNG instead and I enjoyed it. I watched the remastered Blu-rays and it's like great. From what I heard is that they said, well, Picard, like, yeah, it's a deconstruction of the character and the era and everything, and it's darker and grittier. But then they had like a reunion, like wrap up to the show where it was all nostalgic, and fan service, and it's like, okay, so they did both. They tried to have it both ways. So I don't know.
Yep.
So some people absolutely hated Picard, some people loved it.
Yeah, CBS is pretty
Drinking
much
from the
trying to
Grail
cash that out. So
cancels out being nuked. Yeah, but like I said on the other rant cast, I mean, shows can end. It's okay to. I mean, Indiana Jones he already rode off into the sunset, like literally on screen. So it's like, okay, that's fine. And yes, there's always the lure of more money, and there's always the actor going, let's make one more movie. I'll collect one more paycheck. Why not? Let's just do
where's
it. Okay, sure.
Spaceballs 2, The Quest for More Money?
Yeah, yeah. All right, History of the World Part 2. So it's like those endless sequels and spin-offs, and well, what if the background character had an adventure? That's, to me, that's the perfect fodder for your short stories, your novels, your comics, your video games. Let it be told there. The idea that everything has to be like a big budget like TV show or a big budget like movie that's canon, it's like, I just think that ruins fan goodwill, and I think it dilutes a franchise and pisses everybody off more than it makes money in the short run.
I got an idea. How about I challenge like any like big director or movie industry to make something somewhat original. Like nothing that's been made recently in the last 30 to 40 years. Let's not pick that back up. Let's make something unique, even if it has something like similar in a storyline. Let's pick it up, take a risk, and make it unique. It's said in Hollywood that if your pitch is longer than an elevator ride, it doesn't make it. So if you guys are smart enough to take all that information in 9 seconds, you're fucking smart enough to make something original. But I feel like they're too fucking weak to do that. The safe option isn't always the best option. So how about we don't be a bunch of fucking assholes, like weak, limp assholes, and get up off your ass and make something worth watching.
What's that list? I can't remember. Film Thread always talks about it if you ever watch them, but there's some list, they have a name for it. It's like 200 like unpublished screenplays that get circulated every year. Like they're like decent quality, but they refuse to do them because it's too risky. Got to just do revamps and remakes and reimaginings and sequels and prequels and repackaged shows. And
did any of you guys watch Baby Driver?
no.
Okay.
No
very
one did.
goofy.
No one did. No,
very goofy. Very goofy movie. It's about a younger like gentleman who listens to music all the time through like wired headphones. He's got like an iPod he listens to. He's a driver for like a criminal organization that gets hired randomly, and he's got like tinnitus pretty much. And the leader of that organization is Kevin Spacey prior to all the accusations. And it has a very good concept because anytime he's doing something or he is driving, he's listening to music that fits that mood, and that music is projected to the audience. So it kind of gives me like a Hi-Fi Rush type vibe, because he always plays music that kind of fits the flow of the scene, and it kind of challenges like the audience as well a little bit, and it's very it's kind of a creative flow. Now it probably has been done before, but like it kind of has that same like Scott Pilgrim view where like when you're doing a movie you incorporate the music and the beat, and you get your audience to view something like in a book, right? You get them to play the stuff with their mind as well. You get all the elements playing at you at once, right? So, and it can be cheesy as hell. It doesn't have to be dark or super serious. It can be, it doesn't even have to make sense towards the end. What the feeling of the movie is that it's catchy or creative. It gets your attention within the first half. You're sucked in, and then by the end of the movie, if it's kind of goofy, if it's setting the pacing, of the tempo and it's meeting those expectations, Like, nobody has to be dead. You just have to have like a rocket ending. Like, dude could be running and an explosion could be behind him and the credits roll, and like people get up and they're like, yeah, that was okay. But like, I think it's a good. I thought it was a great movie. Did it sell record hits? No, but it was a pretty decent film.
I'm glad you said that, because when I heard the title, I pictured like, what's that, like Look Who's Talking type kind of movie, like Baby's Day Out. Like I thought, I
No, the
had no
actor.
idea what it really was.
No, the actual name of the character is Baby, I believe. So
there's you've heard of Adam Driver. Well, this is Baby Driver.
And then what was it?
Wild Driver.
Renfield was a really goofy movie, but it kind of brought the same vibes.
I saw that recently. I thought that was a mixed bag. Like, I don't know. I thought the
it was very goofy.
He was very miscast. Goofy. I thought. I mean, I liked the kind of like nostalgic take on, like, okay, so Nicolas Cage is Bela Lugosi, and like the act, I forget the guy's name, but the actor who played Renfield, he played J.R.R. Tolkien in like the biopic. It came out a few years back, so that was an interesting choice. He's a talented guy.
Yeah, he is.
And I bought him as a character, but just after a while, it was just like, okay, it's just like I felt like I was watching Dusk Till Dawn. It was just like the over the top gore, and then just the goofy like gangster characters. So it's like, okay, they're just having a good time, and it kind of doesn't matter. The story doesn't matter anymore.
No, but that's the thing, is it's not a reboot. It's not.
But
it's not a huge spinoff.
It's derived from something, but it's original. I
get
that part,
and that's what I'm saying. Is like, we don't.
Part I would support. Take the risk, do it. Some people liked it,
And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that's what I'm saying. So you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel, but you do have to use some of your head. And I think that's what a lot of people who make movies now, they don't do anymore.
Everything's based on something else. I mean, Star Wars was not completely original. It was based on 100 other things, but it was an original combination of things that struck a chord.
But it was something, though. It was still, and in the 70s there wasn't like, we were during like, there was like a sci-fi kick in the 70s, but that's the thing though, was like, you were sitting around in the 70s and you were looking at really cheesy effects, and then you had things like Alien and Star Wars, and you had things that blew people's minds because like it could bring you into it. So we weren't sitting in the age where like, shit's been done and now we're just looking to make the quick dollar, or do what isn't, like, if it doesn't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type situation. What I'm saying is like, go back to the time when you really had to put in some work and use your freaking head to write a script, instead of just hiring the next best motherfucker who says, I'm going to be the next best thing in writing, like, when they're not.
Well, and it doesn't always work too, because Star Wars was paying tribute to those serials and those samurai movies, but at the same time, it wasn't just that. It wasn't like where Tarantino like remakes a movie and it's like, it's the same movie just with more swearing and more gore. Like, no, it's you've put a creative spin on it, and if the effects are cheesy, like, you weave that into the whole process, like it looks like it belongs there. And then he updates the special effects anyway. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it's been done before, and the tendency is just, instead of like somebody makes a Star Wars and it's like, okay, everybody's going to copy that now because that was what succeeded. It's like, no, make your own Star Wars, make your own thing. But yeah, you risk, you have a heart attack and your marriage breaks up and everyone hates you, but you conquer the world. Where's the Rocky Horror sequel? I think you're muted there.
God dang it, I swear I'm muted. Okay, sorry.
Offcast.
So, like I said, I'm sick.
Try not to.
And I've been coughing a lot, so it's getting to the point where my throat's starting to itch.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, what do modern movies pay homage to? And what I'm saying is, could be a little bit more specific. Which ones? Because we have a lot of movies now, like they're just Marvel movies. I like, well, a lot of those pay homage to the comic books, except for the ones that have gone beyond that, and they're just pretty much ripping off themselves. Like most sequels pay homage to their previous movie, and then
there's always source material. So they always you have a play or a book that becomes the basis of a screenplay, which becomes a movie.
Okay, but still, even that book, still, like, a lot of people still made their own creative writing on that. And now it's just okay, we're gonna pay homage to the previous movie and the book, or we're gonna write something like different, but we're just gonna use the source material because people complain too much about it. Like, and that's what I'm saying is, like, how many Batmans have there been, man? Yeah. How many
let me come up with a quick example. So Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind. So right at the beginning of Studio Ghibli animated movie, great one, probably my favorite one ever. And it's been around since the 80s. But with that one, like at the time, it was like, okay, I want to make this. Hayao Miyazaki, he wanted to make a fantasy sci-fi story, and it's like at that time you couldn't make an anime movie unless there was already like a manga of it first. So they quickly just threw together a manga and put it out there just to say, hey, here it is. And then we quickly adapt it. But it was an original story, even though you can see that there's like influences from like Star Wars and Dune and King Arthur and like a million other things.
Okay, so real quick, Kurgan.
Jump in.
Bohemia says, here's my unpopular opinion. Our civilization already wrote every possible combination of story and interaction between characters. The originality is gone. Everything is going to be too similar to something else. Okay, I agree with you on the fact that we have written a lot of things and it's going to be difficult to write something original, like purely original, right? You try to write a story, you're probably going to unintentionally make something similar to something else, right? I, however, do not believe that our society, our race, our people, like us as a people, as a whole people, human beings, have run out of ideas completely. The fact of the matter is that since the dawn of time, we have relied on a certain like rhetoric of character or monster or scene that we revolve around that, and we have been doing it for so long that it is very hard to move out of that mindset. And since books were the first thing to like become it was books and screenplays, or not screenplays, but like just like plays in general. Since those early times, those were a good way to get out and escape, or kind of use your imagination. I would say that we have been inspired from those things for a long time, that if I were to sit down and write something fictional, whether it be like a timepiece or something sci-fi, or something for our like a futuristic set, it would be very similar. The only thing that I would say that would make things purely original is if you invented a different species of creature, character, or made something completely different that it was unrecognizable to us as a people. Like you started using different words, and then you'd have to explain to your audience what those words were. There have been books where a character gets taken to another world and they have to understand not only the language but the creatures there. And the creatures aren't orcs, the creatures aren't aliens like we see now. They are like all armed creatures, or they're creatures that use, you know, they have like stick-like arms and legs, and they move and talk differently, and how they collect resources is similar to our own, but they are called by their own language, and that all has to be explained in a chapter or two. So what I'm saying is, like, the big thing is we are driven by how much time it takes to make a film, comic, book, movie, whatever source. We are driven by how much time, how much money is spent, and how much profit we're going to get out of it. That's that's the problem, I think.
Yep.
And so where do people revolve when they get a pitch? Around something similar, around something that's been inspired previously. And then we went from that to recently, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, we started going to more sequels, and we went to reboots. Now we're into, comics and nerds are becoming a big thing. Let's start making a series out of that. And now TV shows are a lot more popular than film. So now we're going to make series long, drawn out media based on your favorite, like, comic book character, or your favorite series, or your favorite media platform. I'm starting to get so into it. I'm starting to, like, lose my grammar. But it
happens.
That's the thing I disagree with. In the biggest sense of the word, is we are not useless, and we are not people that are just out of ideas. The biggest
Hollywood's
thing here is the fact that we rely very hard on this thing called money, and we also rely very hard on, in our country, most of all, we rely on something that literally wants your creation done as soon as possible. And I'm not saying that you should take forever to make something, but how we stress each other out as a people, if you really look at it, between deadlines and stuff, how we live our lives today is so fucking absurd. It's ridiculous. Literally, especially in bigger cities, like the New York Minute is ridiculous. So, like I said, that's why I've always put myself on the platform for taking more time with video game development, lessing out crunch, and
not Duke Nukem Forever time, but healthy.
No, but
balance.
Like, what I'm saying is, like, if you're working on something and your projected date's supposed to be 2 years more, you don't pull a Cyberpunk 2077 and say, well, that's absurd, it needs to be out this year. And, like, literally when you have proof that it's going to be bad. So, I mean, game breaking bad. But that's the thing, is, like, it's never their fault. And there's, like I said, there's so many problems with that. So, and like I said, that's the thing. Every problem that we've pointed out in the Rantcast recently has led to a corporation, a form of government, or somebody higher up on the chain. And
I blame the aliens. It's all the aliens' fault.
I mean, and this is not, no, and I'm, like I said, I'm getting on a more serious note here, and that's the big thing, is that it's sad, but I don't for a second believe that we are not excuse me, we are not talented enough of people to make something good.
Well,
and it doesn't have to be purely original. I've said this before. I've mentioned that Behemoth. It does not have to be purely original. We can, but like I said, for people who like our current entertainment, we can make something similar without it being a sequel, a reboot, or something purely derivative off something else. like I said, your comic books are always going to be there, right? Like Spider-Man, Batman, stuff like that. That's always going to be there because the newer generations are going to want something more touched up. But the we don't. Do I need a reboot of the Matrix? Do we need it? Like, do we need it? Did we need a Matrix sequel? No, we didn't. And that's the thing, was like that movie was so fan asked for, like it was so asked for so hard, and when it came out it was bad. It was not a good movie.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So
I mean, I have friends who watched it who like were able to like make something out of it, but it's just like, yeah, but it just didn't need to happen.
no, and
It
like
didn't
like
need
I
to
said
exist.
before,
And,
it was
and the director admitted it was just therapy to make it. Like, you just made it for you. You didn't make it for the
yeah,
fans or the world or anything.
and that's
Which
what
is
I'm
like
saying
what George
is,
Lucas would always say, like, I'm gonna make a film that only I want to watch. It's like, yeah, but what are films for?
but that's what I'm saying is, like, you're making a creation as a form of art. First and foremost, most stuff is a form of art. It's expressing yourself. If you're not expressing yourself or putting your story on paper and then turning it onto that screen, what is it?
Yeah.
And that's
Like,
what
don't
a
release
lot
it
of
then.
that's what a lot of people are missing. And like, I bet you they'll argue about it. They'll tell you, like, especially with like people like Taika Waititi and stuff, they've made some really good shit. But like, is it actually theirs? Did I lose my speaker? Hello? I still
No,
here?
I still hear you. I still hear
Okay.
you.
Well, like something.
Uh,
Oh, my Corsair thing like flipped out. Okay. Sorry.
yeah.
Like, I'm
The
having
blacklist.
technical issues like crazy. Yeah, I'm getting
Earlier,
invaded, I guess.
it's called the
So,
blacklist. They call it the blacklist. It's the list of the unpublished screenplays every year that Hollywood
but
just ignores.
yeah.
So
So
there's
it's
ideas out there. They're not all good, but there are people that are trying to come up with new stuff and not just the same old, same old.
yeah.
But
But
you're right.
so that's what I'm
There's
saying.
reasons why we're stuck in a rut with a lot of this stuff, and it's not because it can't be done. It's just because people are unwilling to. People
Well,
with the money and the power
it's
and
not
the
going to
influence
get
are
better.
unwilling to do it.
So, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where,
Unless they get
like, you have to look at it this way. Unless something happens
they
with Disney
they lose
or
they lose too
any
much money, or some eccentric person gets in there, or they just get desperate.
yeah, or any other big
There's a
company right
revolution.
now, we're gonna just have the same shit. Or society decides to demand better content rather
Yeah,
than just small little groups.
we
Like,
vote
it's
with your wallet.
yeah. So literally, that's why I tell people that. It's because really, at the end of the day, like, people will use these, well, like, then that demeans the jobs of other people. Well, once again, man, it's
Would you be
what do you think?
rather working on a Marvel movie, or you'd be working on some other movie? It's like,
Yeah, or
as
like
long as they're making movies, you
those
can
people
apply your craft there.
those people could take their talents to another outlet,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
like I said, those places, they're hard enough to get jobs at. Like, once again, we could be boosting. That's a whole nother talk. You're going into, like, we could be
Yeah.
boosting jobs
Oh yeah.
elsewhere other than the entertainment
Well, yeah.
industry. So
It's like, oh man, if they get rid of Madden, I won't be able to code anymore because I can only code for Madden. It's like, no, you could be coding for something else. It's just like,
no.
I mean,
You
if
could
you
probably
really
code
like
for
that,
something else. Yeah, it's if you
yeah,
have the talent,
yeah.
you could do it. But yeah, it leads to other crap. And like with Joe, I'm really sick and tired of, like, reboots. Like I said, I like Spider-Man. I'm a Spider-Man guy, just for example. But like, I'll play the games more than I'll watch the movies. So, um, and that's just because it could just be me getting older, but I've hit like a fatigue wall with a lot of that crap.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, every generation has their own Spider-Man, but it's like, yeah, but there's a better Spider-Man that you could that you could be watching or reading or experiencing. Yeah, and maybe people will check it out and change it. And that, I know that we're get towards the end of our time, but if you want physical media, now's the time to go get your physical media, because a lot of
I
these stores are deciding they're gonna just liquidate their stuff and quit selling it.
Yeah, so Walmart's doing it. I would
Best
say
Buy,
hold up on that, because this is a YouTube. Do you have an article for that, Kurgan,
yeah, I got a
before
couple.
we close? Because once again, this has been a topic for a long time. Um, a lot of stuff that usually gets liquidated. If they're talking about games, most
And
games
movies.
now can be grabbed and saved now from the internet as archived data.
Well, if you burn it yourself, yeah.
Well, yes, but okay. So you
It'll
are
store
a
it in the
you are
cloud.
okay. Now listen, you are a full on physical guy, but at the end of the day, discs wear out the same, and so do just about anything, unless it's even a book. But like even um, most digital form, like physical forms of digital like content, or I'm sorry, most physical forms of media like discs or DVDs exposed to any elements at all will eventually crap out. Takes a long time, but they will eventually crap out. The reason I'm saying that either get your stuff through an archival site and burn it yourself, or save it on a hard drive, is because if you take care of your stuff, which I do, at least my hard drives, my backup drives, and you make copies, you will be fine for the amount of time that you are living.
Yeah.
The big thing here is that.
Do I care if I'm not going to have my copy of Dark Forces 2 in 1,000 years? No, probably not.
But I have physical copies of my games, but
I don't want to turn around in 5 years, 10 years. Oh, Disney decided that should be erased from history, so now I just can't play it anymore.
Okay, but when? Okay, hold on. Now I'm gonna challenge this because I'm pulling up the articles right now. When have we lost a game there that's been put on a blacklisted site? Because Steam usually blacklists some games, and a lot of them you can find. There's a site that usually picks those back up.
Yeah,
and you can download them for free.
Yeah, tons of Xbox 360 stuff has been delisted like long before they quit making the console. But yeah, fans have listed the stuff. Some of it you got to hack your console to play, but a lot of it you don't.
Well, and the next PlayStation that's coming out, man, is going to have
all the Unreal Tournament games, including Unreal Tournament 3, which that pissed me off because Steam was supposed to put that up for free, but then they didn't.
I still have it. It's not delisted. So is it delisted for people who want to buy it again?
For people who want to buy it again, yeah. It's
okay,
only if you already downloaded your copy, just like Warhammer Quest. They just did that with Warhammer Quest as well. So if you already bought it and downloaded it, you've got it. But if you want to get it in the future, you can't. The Unreal Tournament stuff, it's supposed to be just Epic's proprietary premium subscription thing.
You can't burn that. So like I was saying, if you have it now, back it up. And then if you don't and you need to get a form of it, there are forms of emulation that you can back that up to, or you can grab an emulated copy and back it up, or you can usually use there is a site that will support delisted games, especially games like Unreal, man. Like older ones like that, you can usually find them like anywhere, and like it's because they're old.
Yeah, old games that are popular that the companies have abandoned.
I'm more worried about like games that are on the in the 360 PS3 era because they're digitally signed and they have updates and crap attached to them, like stuff from there to the future. Because
so many ways they can cause it to be crap. I mean,
you can't just back them up. Like that's the thing is you have to get their updates and everything.
Sorry, I'm doing the thing. If a game is popular enough and people demand it enough, eventually Disney, Microsoft, they come out, oh, here's the anniversary edition of that game you liked for a limited time only. They can do that to you. But what if you like something that's more obscure, that doesn't have a big, huge hacking community backing it up, or a tribute collection coming out later? So some of these pages are saying, oh, it's only a rumor. Oh, it's only a preliminary report. It's developing story.
Let's take a look.
Other ones are like, no, it's real.
Yeah, let's take a look first, and then we'll talk about it.
It's false, so that they can get boost, huge sales.
So according to ABC News, as of October 13th, excuse me, hold on, had to cough. Looks like Best Buy is planning to phase out sales of DVDs. Now, while not uncommon because DVD players and a lot of physical media in that department is phasing out. Have a good night, Joe. It is mildly concerning, but they are saying goodbye to movie watching physical discs. Phase out DVD and Blu-ray sales by early 2024. Physical movies being set to sold in stores online. As they are today through the holidays, specifying for the Associated Press Friday, video games will not be impacted. So video games are still being sold in their store.
Well, such as Netflix, they are. I mean, a lot of games you got to download a bunch of updates anyway when you get it.
Thanks, Joe. So another big thing here with this article is this is Best Buy too, right? So you've got major retailers probably saying they're not going to be doing DVDs very much anymore. That's probably going to be Walmart too. And looking at and I'm just talking about DVDs here, Kurgan. When you're looking at just DVDs,
because
I'm going to come back to that.
Blu-rays.
So when you're just looking at that, most physical forms of media can be purchased Amazon. There are a lot of consumer areas that will still allow you to purchase those. They're just going to be probably a little bit more expensive. So yes, agreeing with you, probably the best time to buy if you have a favorite movie, whatever, just to collect it in case. It's kind of like one of those things that you worry about, right? Like if you can't access a movie, or if because I know that you don't have a lot of streaming services, but for people who do, but they are missing a streaming service and they don't want to pay for it, in case you have a video player or a console that'll play DVDs, most consoles do, you can pop it in and play it. I usually just keep them just in case, like, they lose licenses.
You can get an external drive. You can get region-free players that are compatible with
the PS5 Slim that they're making now is going to have a detachable disk drive. So it's both detachable and reattachable, which is something they probably should have done with in the first place. But so you can buy a player if you'd like. What I'm saying, if you do have anything, most entertainment consoles of any type will play DVDs and Blu-rays. But right now a lot of free sites, like free movie sites like Freevee and stuff like that, are still playing classic movies. The big ones I'd be worried about are like really classic stuff, 30s, 40s, 50s. You can usually find those on not royalty free, but you can usually get them. Yeah, they're usually archived, or they're put on. They've kind of been like, I can't remember what's that thing where the copyright gets dropped.
Public domain.
Yeah,
public domain.
You can get a public domain on those. So
but at the same time, like, a lot of times the quality is really bad on those. Like, they're just like VHS rips and stuff like that.
Where are you gonna find a high quality version of, like, I don't know, the Blob or whatever, like
the Blob, the Criterion Collection. Sure.
Like, I mean, even if like it comes on a Blu-ray, it's still gonna be like moderately like be restored. But what I'm saying is, like, it's gonna be out there, so you don't.
You need your CRT TV to play it in the proper resolution.
So don't panic. But most of the time I keep physical media is when like things like with like Activision Blizzard. So if you have like a form of game or media that gets stamped with a like a license or a like digital signature that allows you not to be able to stream it on more than one device, or it's got like a DRM that says like you can only use this so many times, because if they don't think that they won't probably try that shit again.
Oh man,
they don't now, but now that they're all digital. Hold on, now they're all digital. If they go to all digital, they might try doing that shit, and they might have a premium service where you don't have to deal with that. You've got shit in the drawer ready to go, so you can just watch your movies, and they can't take that shit from you. So, that's what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, right now, they're we're kind of on a rocky slope with streaming services. You know, they're kind of going up in price. They're kind of going lower in price. Yeah. So, right now, I really feel like we either need to figure out copyright laws again. Like those need to get redone because everybody's stamping licenses on movies and they're getting swapped around between services. So now they can't put. I don't think they can put DRMs on those right now until they figure out how to fully own an IP or right to something. But yeah, and Netflix to me is I don't even. My wife has it. I keep telling her to get rid of it because really at the end of the day you only pay for one user and then you have to pay more to have multiple users, and like half the crap on there is like mediocre like original series and like crap like that. Yeah, so like I said, there's tons of streaming services out there, but if you want to keep your physical media.
Yeah, what happened to just paying to rent a single movie and just watch it?
That's what I said, anymore. Man,
I'll go to the local library.
I'm not opposed to digital. It's just like I said before, we're going backwards, right? This should be an innovation. It should not be a backward step. And when 10 years ago, Netflix and Hulu were the two major streaming services, right? And I could watch pretty much almost anything I wanted on Netflix and then almost any TV show on Hulu, and it was $10 a month for both. And now anything classic, you'd have to find yourself still on physical media or on television. But like a good chunk of good series, good like movies, TV shows were on Netflix and Hulu. But in order to get the full experience, you had to have both. But I didn't. I just had Netflix for a good while. I went to my friends to watch Hulu. But the big thing is, you know, we were innovating at that time. And then we lost net neutrality. Companies took crap away. And then they started releasing this shit on different like platforms. And now we're just getting more and more platforms. Like they're developing more and more, like companies are developing more and more streaming services. And then on top of that, some of them are going premium now. Like it doesn't stop at premium, folks. It's just going to get higher and higher. And like I don't mind the price hike. What I mind is the fact that they're going to develop more like workarounds. So it's not going to be premium, you'll have premium plus, or you'll have something where it's like it's a service where you not only don't get to watch ads, but you can watch the movie as many times as you want. There's going to be a service for renting. There might be something like I said, it's slowly taking away your freedom to watch something, right? This is why people in my generation were pirating. This is why people in my generation were demanding like crap like this to end, and why people, I don't know why people aren't now, like why we're so tolerant of it. It fucking blasts me away. We weren't just complaining to complain. It's the fact that like companies were doing this before. Like they were trying to do this with certain things prior to that. And it pisses me off.
It's like the Wizards of the Coast thing that we always go back to. It's like you raise a fuss and they back off, but then we get complacent again and then they try it again.
Yeah, and like I said, for some weird reason, around almost 10 years ago, we just didn't care. And like they were like, okay, I guess we'll just go ahead with it. And now like I said, Disney Plus used to be just a standard price. Now it's Disney Plus with ads and without ads. Now it's Netflix standard price. Now it's Netflix for multiple users. Now you have Hulu. You have Hulu regular, then you have Hulu without ads, and then you have Hulu plus TV, and like, yeah, and it really is going to be kind of like that. I hope they go in that direction more than the DRM direction, because if you at least have like something where it's like you get a package deal of 5 streaming services for this price, at least they're not going to hit me with a bunch of ads or like try to DRM my shit. It's just like a cable package. And like, I think that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make everything $10 or $15 a month and then say, well, here, we'll package it all for you and give it to you. And then like, you're still paying like $50, $60 a month or more on streaming services. And then you got to download all of them. And it just takes up room on your hard drive. Like I said, nothing about this makes anything convenient. It's the illusion of convenience at that point.
Yeah.
My Apple TV worked with my iPhone, worked with my streaming services 10 years ago. Everything was together. Now, like, you have to fucking, like, download a whole bunch of apps that take space on your smart TV. And, like, if you don't have a, a $3,000 TV, it's going to slow down. And then, like, if you don't have a really expensive, like, streaming hardware, or if it's not built into your TV, you're going to have problems. You know, you have to download every fucking app for every streaming service that you have. You know, and that's the thing, is like, a lot of people don't, but some people do, and like, it's one of those things where it's the illusion of convenience, right? The only thing that's convenient about all this is it's on demand if you pay for it. So it really is on demand. It's rewindable. You can watch it whenever you want. Now, when does it stop becoming that? That's the case. You know? So entertainment is expensive. That's why you pick and choose what you wanna have, and you stick with it. So, excuse me.
Just getting into the future, we're gonna have to EMP your board games with all the microchips they put in to interact with your phone and sell you ads.
Yeah, like, so, and that kind of goes with board games and stuff too. They're trying to figure out a way to just digitize that shit too. It's not for convenience, folks. It's to make it more easily controllable. You know,
squeeze, give me spice.
So you know, it's pathetic. It's truly pathetic.
You can be a businessman, you can be a company and make a healthy profit and not just enslave and screw over your customers.
Like, because competition from bigger companies will just screw you if you try. And you can. I agree with you that you can. It's just like, with everything going on right now, it's hard. And it's not. It's very implausible to do so.
Everybody else is doing it, so I got to do it to stay.
Well, no, it's not. It's not just that, Kurgan. It's the fact that, like, when everybody else is making more money because they're doing that, it's hard to stay in business when you're doing the right thing, and you can't get customers through the door because the easier option is next door, right? And they're fooling that the other person. Like I said, if they can sell it for cheaper,
it's so convenient.
It's the simpler option, right? You have two stores. You have a mom and pop shop that make everything handmade. It tastes good, but it costs like $20. They sell bread, right? It's $20 for just one loaf of bread, right? Then you got the store next to you, and they're like, oh, well, we have bread that comes in stock like faster, like per hour. We don't have to take a long time to make it, and it only costs like $7 a loaf. Come get your bread. And they're like, fuck yeah, we need bread now. I got a busy schedule. You're gonna have the regulars that still coming in the mom and pop shop, but are they gonna make up for the profit that you're fucking losing from next door? No, you're not. So what do? You either go and you outsource your work, or you close, or you burn the store next door on fire. But you know, it's one of those things where it just sucks. Yeah. So that's my rant. I've ranted too long. I'm losing my voice. But
I've enjoyed myself greatly. I think at the start I wasn't quite awake yet. I was kind of like getting into it, but yeah, the rants, they just keep coming.
They don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we're gonna call it. Do you have any final thoughts before we end the night tonight?
Everybody, try to stay healthy, and we're going over to Bohemius's house. His mom's got stovetop. We're gonna ride out the apocalypse playing board games.
Stovetop. Gotta love that stovetop.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, no, I've had a great time. Thanks for everybody for joining us on the Rantcast. Shout out to all our supporters, our fans, and contributors.
And just real quick, before we end, I'm just gonna end this off here. For anybody who's recently watching the VOD or anything else, my name is Josh. I'm also known as the StrangeBus. You can catch me at twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. I'll probably be streaming right after this. So,
raid yourself. Yeah.
I am joined by Kurgan, who also does this standalone, and he does his HeroQuest stuff there at HeroQuest Fans. You can find him at twitch.tv/HeroQuest Fans. That is twitch.tv/HeroQuest Find him on YouTube, and that is XSC3, home of HeroQuest fans.
You can find us both on Discord too.
Yeah, we do have Discord channels. Everything's in the link below. Hope you all have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Take care. We enjoy having you. If you'd like to be part of the Rantcast, you can message one of either of our Discords. That's the HeroQuest Discord or the Bus of Discord. Message us. We'll send you a link, and we'll invite you over to the show. That's just because I hop in on the show doesn't mean that you can't be a guest. Usually it is. It used to be just us every week. But usually when I'm not around or Kurgan's not around, we'll usually bring in a guest. So come and join the discussion.
You don't have to agree with us. In fact, if you have an opposing point of view, that's even better. We can have a nice back and forth. I just want to say, if the aliens are really out there, I was on your side all along. All along.
Indeed. Live shows are coming here soon. We'll probably plan a live show at some point in time. Just got to get it set up. I am kind of in the process of dealing with traveling and kind of getting things set up for my kids. So we'll get one set up here sooner rather than later. But thank you all for your patience. Once again, I hope you have a great rest of your week. If you do manage to get some time, pop in, say hello while I'm streaming. And I'll try to do the same for your stream as well, Kurgan. I want to get joining in on a quest again, but
Friday, Saturday. Yeah,
you end it right as I'm coming on too, so it's.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
It's like 9. I get there I get done at kids are in bed at and everything's quiet around 9:15. He's got less than an hour left, so.
It's always nice to have you stop in and just buy a few monsters, buy a few potions.
Buy a few monsters. All right. Well, with that, like I said before, have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Rantcast, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Rantcast, yeah.